Chapter 9:13. Upon hearing Morbius' voice, Lin Yuan's heart warmed up, and he said softly, "Morbius, long time no see. Morbius, long time no see. You're finally awake." Although only 2 months had passed, Lin Yuan felt as though several years had passed in his heart. When Morbius heard that, its voice carried a rare joy. "Lin Yuan, I didn't expect you to comprehend 2 more willpower runes so quickly and let the blue flash purple butterfly and the spirit-drawing ichthyosaur become fantasy breeds." After saying that, Morbius chuckled, unable to suppress the excitement of talking to its partner after waking up. While Lin Yuan was talking to Morbius, he felt that Morbius' main body on his wrist was getting hotter and hotter, so much so that his wrist started to sting. Lin Yuan did not care about this. Instead, he said to Morbius rather excitedly, "Morbius, are you going to become a fantasy breed?" Morbius said to Lin Yuan excitedly, "Morbius, are you going to become a fantasy breed?" Upon hearing that, Morbius hesitated and said to Lin Yuan, "That's right. But for me to become a fantasy breed, it will take up more of your spiritual energy. Not only will I have to use up the spiritual energy I returned to you before, but I might also need more. Why don't I not become a fantasy breed and suppress it for a while? But even if I try my best, I won't be able to suppress it for long." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan could faintly hear the shame in Morbius' words. Morbius was very ashamed that it needed to take up more of Lin Yuan's spiritual energy to become a fantasy breed. From when Lin Yuan was 8 years old to 17 years old, it had been nearly 10 years. Because of Morbius, Lin Yuan's spiritual energy was only as thick as a strand of hair, and he would feel dizzy when he concentrated for a while. If it became a fantasy breed now, Lin Yuan would have to return to his previous state. In fact, because it needed more spiritual energy, Lin Yuan's future state might not be as good as before. This was not what Morbius wanted to see. Forcibly suppressing itself from becoming a fantasy breed would put a lot of pressure on Morbius, and it would enter a deep sleep for a long time and hurt its roots. However, Morbius still decided to wait for Lin Yuan to have enough spiritual energy before becoming a fantasy breed. In the process of a spirit chi professional's growth, their spiritual energy would constantly grow. Lin Yuan's spiritual energy had grown a lot during these 8 months. Morbius reckoned that in another 2 years, Lin Yuan's spiritual energy would allow him to become a fantasy breed. Upon hearing Morbius' words, Lin Yuan hurriedly waved his hand and asked Morbius, "Morbius, how much more of my mental strength do I need for you to become a fantasy breed?" Morbius didn't try to hide anything and said straightforwardly, "Lin Yuan, feel the increase in your spiritual energy over the past 8 months. Multiply it by 3, and that will be the amount of spiritual energy I need to evolve into a fantasy breed. But this is only the amount of mental power I need to advance to a fantasy breed. You'll need mental power if you want to live a normal life. Why don't I hibernate for a period of time? Hibernating can allow me to suppress the time needed to advance to a fantasy breed." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan hurriedly waved his hand and smiled brightly, revealing his white teeth. "Morbius, you forgot that I still have the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia. The Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia has already borne fruit. Although the fruit still needs some time to ripen, I can use spirit crystals to accelerate the ripening of the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia now." After speaking, Lin Yuan entered the spirit lock spatial zone. The purple sky mythical butterfly knew where Lin Yuan was going, so it wasn't in a hurry and waited for Lin Yuan's return with peace of mind. However, Lin Yuan's disappearance startled the butcher sky butterfly. If Lin Yuan were to use the spatial teleportation ability, he would need to use spatial power. As a creation breed Fey, the butcher sky butterfly could shatter spatial power before it was formed and prevent the target from teleporting. However, Lin Yuan didn't use spatial power, and it was as though he had vanished into thin air. Such a operation made the butcher sky butterfly scratched its head. However, the butcher sky butterfly didn't care so much and only cared about flying around with the purple sky mythical butterfly. It forcefully fed a bellyful of dog food to the creatures all over the mountains and plains. After entering the Spirit Lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan went to the side of the pure land of bliss and put away the 2 golden pearls formed by the creation earth vein. Then, he squatted down and checked on the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia. After a round of inspection, Lin Yuan thought to himself. It seems like the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's fruit still needs a very long time to fully ripen. When Morbius saw the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's fruit, it was relieved and said to Lin Yuan, "This cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia has a total of 3 fruits. This cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia has a total of 3 fruits. Partner, you just need to eat one of the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia." Although the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's effect is the most obvious when you eat the first fruit, there will also be an effect if you continue to eat it. It will only stop increasing your spiritual energy after eating the 3rd fruit. Partner, eat 3 of the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's fruits. When I become a fantasy breed, your spiritual energy will be at least twice as much as it is now. In addition, after I become a fantasy breed, my true data, calm mind, and spirit chi condensation will all be enhanced. When that time comes, you can use true data to check on the creation breed phase attributes. Calm mind can also effectively protect against any negative effects used by phase below myth breed. It also has an extremely strong resistance against the charm effects of myth breed and above. The time for spirit chi condensation to condense the spirit chi crystal has not changed. It will still condense one every 7 days like before. However, the effect of the condensed spirit chi crystal will be several times more than before. After I evolve the blue/purple butterfly into a silver/fantasy breed, I will also become a silver/fantasy breed. At that time, the condensed spirit chi crystal will be able to achieve 10 times the effect now. After learning that Lin Yuan had a way to increase his spiritual energy and that he could successfully become a fantasy breed, Morbius started to talk. It introduced to Lin Yuan the changes that would happen to its original abilities after becoming a fantasy breed. Previously, when Morbius had been asleep, Lin Yuan could only explore Morbius' abilities by himself. Now that Morbius had woken up, Lin Yuan could only ask Morbius if he had any questions. There was no need for Lin Yuan to experiment and research. Among them, Lin Yuan was most excited about the improvement of Morbius' spirit chi condensation ability to condense spirit chi crystals. Previously, if Lin Yuan wanted to upgrade a silver/fantasy breed Fey to Gold Eye, he would need to consume 10 spirit chi crystals. After Morbius became a silver/fantasy breed, Lin Yuan would only need to use 1, which was equivalent to increasing his ability by 10 times. Previously, he could use spirit chi crystals to simultaneously enhance 5 to 6 bronze/epic phase to bronze/legend. Chapter 9:14. Now, 1 spirit chi crystal could upgrade 50 to 60 bronze/epic phase from epic to legend. A qualitative change produced a quantitative change. It was truly shocking for Lin Yuan to have such a harvest with just the spirit chi crystals. Previously, Lin Yuan had wanted to obtain a bronze/legend Fey, but it had not been easy. Now, a bronze/legend Fey was not worth mentioning to Lin Yuan. In the past, Lin Yuan had relied on spirit chi crystals to upgrade his fantasy breed phase grades. He would often stop upgrading them at Gold Eye because he could not afford the consumption. Now, Lin Yuan could raise this limit to Platinum Eye. If he could catch up with a few myth breed phase world baptism, he could collect the world grace bestowed by the world baptism. Lin Yuan felt that it was not impossible to upgrade all his phase to diamond. Lin Yuan thought that since Morbius was going to evolve into a fantasy breed and produce an enhanced version of the spirit chi crystal, he did not intend to keep it. Lin Yuan did not intend to keep the weakened version of the spirit chi crystal. He took all the remaining spirit chi crystals and crushed one of them. He guided the spiritual power contained in it for the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia to absorb. After awakening, Morbius was also helping Lin Yuan guide the spirit chi in the spirit chi crystal. However, this Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia was truly a huge spirit chi consumer. It consumed nearly 9 of Lin Yuan's spirit chi crystal fruits before they were fully ripe. After the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's fruit ripened, it immediately emitted a refreshing fragrance. Lin Yuan felt his spirit jolt when he smelled this fragrance, and his mind became much clearer. The Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia wanted to absorb the fruit's energy after it ripened. However, before it could do anything, the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia could do anything, Lin Yuan had already plucked the 3 ripened fruits. Lin Yuan was the first to pluck the fruits, and the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia shook its moist stem as if it was an egg being pulled. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan used his fingers to rub the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's leaves. He did not care whether a plant fey could understand his words and said, "I have great use for your fruits this time. This time, your fruit is very useful to me. When you produce more fruits in the future, I will only pick 2 of them and leave 1 for you to absorb." As he spoke, he recalled how the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia had escaped from the Cinnabar sweet Osmanthus when it had just borne fruit. It was also fortunate that he had hastened the ripening of the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia fruit. Otherwise, the task of looking after the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia fruit would have been left to the wind-speed rapid antelope. As long as the wind-speed rapid antelope was slightly careless, the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia's fruit would be quickly absorbed by the Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia. He threw the 3 Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia fruits into his mouth. After chewing them, he felt as though he had chewed a mouthful of mint grass, and his spiritual energy was in a cool state. Immediately after, he felt his spiritual energy continuously increasing. He was very happy with the feeling of his spiritual energy constantly increasing. When he felt that the 3 Cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia fruits had lost their effects and that his spiritual energy was no longer increasing, he shook his head gently. He felt that his current spiritual energy was enough to contract 3 to 4 phases. Lin Yuan immediately said to Morbius, "Morbius, you can become a fantasy breed now." Morbius said, "Partner, my spirit lock spatial zone will undergo a huge change during this evolution. During the process, I will need to sleep for at least half an hour. The spirit lock spatial zone's expansion process might not affect the safety of the lifeforms inside, but they will definitely not feel comfortable." Lin Yuan nodded and prepared to bring Genius, Chimey, and the wind-speed rapid antelope out of the spirit lock spatial zone. Since the floating island whale, Gray, and the elemental shellfish needed to absorb the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan left them in the spirit lock spatial zone. After Lin Yuan brought Genius, Chimey, and the wind-speed rapid antelope out of the spirit lock spatial zone, Morbius immediately started to evolve into a fantasy breed. Ever since Morbius started its metamorphosis, the Morbius hoop on Lin Yuan's wrist had been boiling hot. However, this degree of heat would not burn Lin Yuan's skin. Lin Yuan looked at the Morbius hoop again and felt that it was a little different from before. Previously, the Morbius hoop was engraved with the symbols of the spirit pool, the pure land of bliss, and the limestone bowl that condensed the spirit chi crystal. Now, a new symbol was being produced, and Lin Yuan could not help but be filled with anticipation. Chimey, Genius, the wind-speed rapid antelope, and the blue flash purple butterfly would usually stay in the spirit lock spatial zone. Even if the blue flash purple butterfly had always been with the jasmine lily, it had already become friends with Genius, Chimey, and the wind-speed rapid antelope. When it saw the blue flash purple butterfly evolving into a fantasy breed, the enthusiastic Genius let out a childish meow. "Blue flash purple butterfly, was it painful when you evolved into a fantasy breed?" It was extremely painful when Genius evolved into a fantasy breed. But Genius was very brave. Unlike Chimey, it was in so much pain that it cried. Upon hearing that, Chimey chirped, "Genius, you're spouting nonsense. How could Chimey cry? Chimey is the strongest. Blue flash purple butterfly, don't listen to genius nonsense. It was clearly genius that was meowing in pain. As it spoke, Chimey even mimicked the painful cry that genius had made during its advancement. Genius used its 5 furry tails to cover its face as though it was shy. On the other hand, the wind-speed rapid antelope was jumping up and down like a silly roe deer, expressing its joy for its companion's evolution. When Lin Yuan saw how harmonious his fays were, he felt a gentle breeze blowing over the wilderness, and his heart was filled with warmth. He felt that there was a sense of tranquility in the years. Morbius might be evolving into a fantasy breed, but its ability, true data, could still be used. At that moment, Lin Yuan was using Morbius' ability, true data, to check on the blue flash purple butterfly's attributes after evolving into a fantasy breed, the purple sky beauty butterfly. Fey name, purple sky beauty butterfly, Fey species, flash butterfly genus/scale butterfly family, Fey grade, bronze, 10 out of 10, Fey type, spiritual/soul, Fey quality, fantasy eye abilities frowny face silence scale powder, releases special scale powder with a silence effect, causing the target to be unable to communicate with spiritual power to release abilities. At the same time, the scale powder will also absorb the target's spirit chi. Under the effect of spirit chi, the scale powder will absorb spirit chi to split and multiply. Exclusive skill frowny face scale powder halo, its scale powder has a powerful reflective effect. The multifaceted reflection of the scale powder will cause the target enveloped by the scale powder to suffer from optical pollution, causing dizziness and even temporary blindness. Heart and Soul Beauty Goddess activates the spiritual energy and soul power contained within the body, using the spiritual energy and soul as a catalyst to magnify one's beauty limitlessly. It will create a charming attraction effect on the target, causing the target to enter a loving state. The target in the loving state will want to keep all the main body's belongings on their body forever. The target in the loving state will take pride in collecting the main body's belongings. After taking a look, Lin Yuan's pupils involuntarily contracted. Lin Yuan knew that the blue flash purple butterfly's bloodline had been enhanced after the slaughter sky butterfly's bloodline sacrifice, but he didn't expect that the blue flash purple butterfly's normal ability, silent scale powder, would be so enhanced after evolving into the purple sky beauty butterfly. Chapter 9:15. Previously, the silent scale powder only had a silence effect. When the scale powder attacked the target would not be able to communicate with spiritual power and would not be able to use the elemental energy in the air to release elemental abilities. But now, the purple sky beauty butterfly scale powder could not only isolate other phase reaction to spiritual power, but it could also absorb the target's spiritual power and multiply on the target's body. This caused the silent scale powder to change from a crowd control skill to a debuff, causing the target to have a spirit reduction buff. Furthermore, the scale powder relied on spiritual power to multiply, making it extremely difficult to remove. As long as a trace of the silent scale powder was left on the target would not be able to escape the silent scale powder's control. The blue flash purple butterfly's silent scale powder was just the powder on its wings. It could be scattered on a large scale and not just targeted at a single target. At the same time, the multiplication of the scale powder would also increase the silent scale powder's infectivity. In the process of the target's movement, the light scale powder would spread and contaminate the surrounding phase. In the end, the entire group of phase would be affected by the silent scale powder. Such a situation made the purple sky beauty butterfly's silent scale powder very suitable for large-scale outdoor battles. The purple sky beauty butterfly's original exclusive skill, scale powder halo, did not have any changes. It still used the scale powder's light pollution to cause dizziness and blindness on the target. However, the blue flash purple butterfly's second exclusive skill, Heart Soul Beauty Goddess, was simply too domineering. The purple heaven divine butterfly could use the heart soul beauty spirit to bewitch other fays, causing them to carefully treasure the silent scale powder scattered by the purple heaven divine butterfly. They instinctively wanted to keep the silent scale powder on their bodies. They even wanted to swallow the silent scale powder into their bodies and provide a good environment for the silent scale powder. Such a bewitching ability maximized the silent scale powder's infectivity and control ability. Furthermore, the heart-soul beauty goddess's bewitching effect wasn't a negative effect. It was just that the purple sky beauty butterfly used its spiritual energy and soul power to magnify its beauty. She displayed her beauty to the fullest. Such an effect wouldn't be dispelled as a control ability. Everyone loved beauty, and it was the same for fays. The exclusive skill, Heart-Soul Beauty Goddess, allowed the blue flash purple butterfly's silent scale powder to kill almost all kinds of fays. Lin Yuan couldn't help but smack his lips. He felt that the blue flash purple butterfly wasn't just good-looking. Now, even his abilities had become stronger. Morbius' evolution into a fantasy breed was based on the Fae with the lowest spirit lock grade. The Jasmine Lily was already Platinum I/Fantasy 3, while the Spirit-Tide Black Flood Dragon was also Gold I/Fantasy I. According to the restrictions of Morbius' exclusive skill, Spirit Lock Spatial Zone, Morbius, which was a fantasy breed, could reach Silver X at most. If he wanted to increase it further, he would need to spirit lock on another Fae and nurture it to Gold I/Fantasy I. Therefore, Lin Yuan planned to take advantage of this opportunity to increase the blue flash purple butterfly's grade, and he just happened to have 10 spirit chi crystals left. It was enough to upgrade the Bronze X/Fantasy I purple sky butterflies to Silver X/Fantasy I. This was also the limit that Morbius could reach at this moment. Lin Yuan thought to himself, the number of spirit chi crystals I have left is really a coincidence. Lin Yuan immediately crushed the 10 spirit chi crystals together and guided the massive and pure spirit chi to surge toward the purple sky butterflies. The purple heaven butterflies were also successfully upgraded to Silver X/Fantasy I under the extreme purple light and shadow. Due to spirit lock, the purple sky butterflies didn't have any abilities other than normal. Lin Yuan didn't have anything else to check with true data. At that moment, the slaughter sky butterfly looked at Lin Yuan with an even more grateful gaze. It had already regarded the purple sky butterflies as its everything. Lin Yuan had put in a lot of effort to nurture the purple sky butterflies, so the slaughter sky butterfly was even more grateful to Lin Yuan than if Lin Yuan had saved it. Lin Yuan looked at the purple sky butterflies fluttering around him and said, "Purple sky butterflies, why don't I call you purple sky from now on? Why don't I call you purple sky from now on?" Upon hearing that, the purple sky butterflies flapped their wings gently to express their joy at having a name. Lin Yuan, Genius, Chimey, the purple sky butterflies, the wind speed rapid antelope, and the slaughter sky butterfly played for a while. While playing, Lin Yuan suddenly realized that a strange bottle symbol had appeared on the Morbius band on his hand. Just as he was feeling strange, Morbius' voice echoed in Lin Yuan's mind. "Partner, I am now a fantasy breed." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan immediately used true data to check on Morbius' main body. Fae name, Morbius, Fae species, : Fae grade, Silver, 10 out of 10, Fae type, Spatial/Mystery, Fae quality, Fantasy I abilities Frowny face true data, turn all complicated information that the naked eye can't distinguish into data. The data information might contain the truth that can't be distinguished on the surface. Calm mind, passive ability. The effect of calm mind can be enhanced according to the phase grade. Calm mind can calm the mind and has a certain probability of resisting negative states. Spirit chi condensation, gather the spirit chi in the air and the spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone. The gathered spirit chi will form spirit chi crystals. Spirit chi crystals can enhance phase and source type lifeforms. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Spirit Lock, Morbius Spatial Zone can nurture phase. The initial grade of the Fae that Morbius Spatial Zone can nurture cannot be higher than Morbius grade. Morbius itself can't level up, but its grade will increase along with the Fae it nurtures. At the same time, it can obtain the initial abilities of the Fae it nurtures. However, Morbius will no longer obtain abilities when it levels up. Every time Morbius increases a grade, it can nurture one more Fae. At the same time, Morbius' upgrade method remains the same. Pure Land of Bliss, the soil produced in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone can be very good for recovering the injuries of dying Faes. The Fae's recovery time will be determined by Morbius grade and the dying Fae's grade. Klein Hub, swallow the dimensional hub that connects to the dimensional world into the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone and bind it with the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. During the binding process, the objects in the dimensional space can enter the dimensional world through the hub, while the dimensional world's lifeforms cannot enter the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Normal Spirit Lock, Jasmine Lily, Bud of Mountain Jade Platinum I/Fantasy I ability, Heal. Sad Face Fasciated Flower Terrace. When the Fasciated Flower Terrace executes the Heal ability, it will reverse heal the target and absorb the target's vitality. At the same time, it will allow the target to enter an extremely comfortable feeling. Crystallized Main Flower Terrace. When the Crystallized Main Flower Terrace executes the Heal ability, it will reverse heal the target and absorb a large amount of vitality within a short period of time. Bud of Mountain Jade. When the Bud of Mountain Jade executes the Heal ability, it will reverse heal the target and absorb a large amount of vitality through the Bud of Mountain Jade. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Recovery Imprint, store the healing energy that the Jasmine Lily normally releases. The contractor can activate the imprint to release the stored healing energy. Severed Growth, comprehend the mystery of plant growth. Even if the genetic model is damaged, the rich vitality can allow it to slowly continue growing. Elite Spirit Lock, Spirit Tide Black Flood Dragon, Gold I/Fantasy I, ability Frowny Face Spirit Injection, restore a large amount of spiritual power to the target in one go and recover a certain amount of lost spiritual power over time. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Spirit Chi Imprint, the Spirit Chi released by the user is not released into the environment but stored in the Spirit Chi imprint. It can also guide a small amount of Spirit Chi released by other dragon species phase that do not exceed the user's grade and inject it into the Spirit Chi imprint. The Spirit Chi imprint will be imprinted on the contractor's body, and the contractor can actively release the stored spiritual power in the Spirit Chi imprint. Spirit Burst, gather the spiritual power at one point and use this point to burst out all the energy contained in the spiritual power. Spirit Burst is limited to the target of the Spirit Chi imprint. Bronze Spirit Lock, Frowny Face Purple Sky Butterfly, Silver X/Fantasy I, ability Frowny Face Silence Scale Powder, release a special scale powder with a silence effect. The target that comes into contact with the scale powder will not be able to communicate with spiritual power to release skills. At the same time, the scale powder will also absorb the Spirit Chi in the target's body. Under the effect of Spirit Chi, the scale powder will absorb Spirit Chi to divide and multiply. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Scale Powder Halo, the user's scale powder has a strong reflective effect. The multifaceted reflection of the scale powder will cause the target enveloped by the scale powder to suffer optical pollution, causing dizziness or even temporary blindness. Heart and Soul Beauty, activate the spiritual energy and soul power contained in the body, using the spiritual energy and soul as a catalyst to magnify the beauty without limit, causing a charming attraction effect on the target, causing the target to enter a loving state. The target in the loving state will want to keep all the things in the body forever. The target in the loving state will take pride in collecting the things from the body. At a glance, Lin Yuan found that Morbius had indeed reached Silver X/Fantasy I because of what he had done just now. However, when Lin Yuan saw the new exclusive skill, Klein Hub, that had appeared after Morbius became a fantasy breed, he could not help but be stunned. Lin Yuan's mouth opened slightly. Wasn't this exclusive skill Klein Hub equivalent to a Class 6-dimensional rift that opened in the Spirit Lock spatial zone? Furthermore, the user could freely choose which dimensional world this dimensional rift connected to. Due to the special characteristics of Klein Hub, dimensional lifeforms would not run out like ordinary Class 6-dimensional rifts. Lin Yuan, who had always been polite, could not help but curse. Damn, Klein Hub's exclusive skill is simply too awesome. Chapter 9:16. The bamboo fragrance brought color to the purple bamboo forest. The gurgling stream was like a clear jade belt shuttling through the purple bamboo forest. Any purple bamboo in the bamboo forest was 30 meters tall. However, the bamboo poles of these 30-meter-tall purple bamboos were very thin. However, the thin bamboo poles would not sway in the wind. Instead, the bamboo poles were like combs that combed the wind into soft strands. The strands of wind shuttled through the purple bamboo forest and stirred the streams. Occasionally, there would be a few phoenix cries coming from the depths of the bamboo forest. The sonorous cries were accompanied by the sound of bamboo leaves scattering, and it had the elegance of a cloud pavilion. The Radiance Federation's early spring came a little late this year, but even if spring did not come, the bamboo fragrance and phoenix cries were accompanied by the clouds in the sky. It was a story that was warmer than the spring breeze. Apart from the purple bamboo and the golden thread emperor bamboo, there were also 100 types of bamboo in the purple bamboo forest. Among these 100 types of bamboo, some had bamboo fruits, which would bend the bamboo poles and fall to the ground. Occasionally, a few would fall into the stream and splash, startling a few purple gold carps to jump out of the water. After eating the bamboo fruits, the big purple gold carps would stir the stream water with their tails and splash the clear stream into the bamboo forest as though they were returning the bamboo forest's gift. The purple bamboo forest did not have any vegetation wither throughout the year. In the depths of the bamboo forest, there was a hidden courtyard built with purple bamboo. There were a few fairy-like white cranes flying in the courtyard. The white cranes flapped their wings and created a cool breeze that dispersed the incense burning in the two huge bronze furnaces in front of the courtyard. Occasionally, a few wisps would be blown into the courtyard. At that moment, a man and a woman were sitting on a couch in the courtyard. The man was using a bamboo comb to gently comb the woman's ink-black waist-length hair. Although the man looked to be in his 30s, the hair on his head had already turned gray. He looked like an old man on the verge of death. The woman used her hand to touch the thin mirror in front of her and looked at the man's gray hair. Her face was clearly brimming with a blissful smile, but her tears could not help but flow down her eyes. Once the woman cried, the warm smile that she had forced on could no longer be maintained. When the man who was quietly combing the woman's hair saw the woman crying, the hand holding the bamboo comb paused slightly, but the movement of his hand did not stop. The man's expression was still calm, but seeing the woman crying, the man couldn't bear to see her cry, so he stretched out a pair of beautiful hands to gently wipe away the tears that rolled down the woman's face. They were all women, and they were made of water. The woman's tears wetted her beautiful hand. After wiping the woman's cheeks with his good-looking hands, the tears returned to his fingertips and dripped onto the bamboo-embroidered seat. The man said softly, Xiang, don't cry. I'm fine. I plan to leave the purple bamboo forest's matters to Chen Er. After we welcome our old friends, we'll take a good look at Huiyao's great rivers and mountains. Looking at the woman in front of him, the man's eyes were clear and filled with determination. Fortunately, in this life, I met someone by chance and stayed with him for a moment. If they truly loved each other, why did it have to be everlasting? The bamboo monarch sighed softly as he felt the warmth of the tears on his fingertips. He sighed at his lack of talent and knowledge. Even though he was a Class 5 creation master, he still couldn't remove his beloved's constitution of bad luck. He sighed at himself for not being brave enough in the past. The moment he hugged Wang Fuxiang, the bamboo monarch didn't regret that Wang Fuxiang had caused him to be infected with bad luck. He regretted that he hadn't waded into the water earlier to ask for Wang Fuxiang's name. The bamboo monarch's third sigh wasn't for himself, but for why Wang Fuxiang's life was so cloudy. The bamboo monarch's three sighs were like three questions, but these questions were destined to be unanswered. Wang Fuxiang turned her head and stared intently into the bamboo monarch's eyes. Her tears fell onto the bamboo monarch's clothes. Fu Wenju, is it worth it because of me? The bamboo monarch gently removed the ring on his finger and put it on Wang Fuxiang's ring finger. However, Wang Fuxiang was a woman, and her fingers were too thin. The ring looked loose on Wang Fuxiang's ring finger, and it would fall off with a flick of her hand. The bamboo monarch grinned awkwardly, then solemnly put the bamboo ring on Wang Fuxiang's thumb. Xiangxiang, this ring contains all my wealth. Now that I'm giving it to you, don't you think I'll regret it? Wang Fuxiang's eyes welled up with more tears. She was like a little girl who had been wronged, and the more the adults coaxed her, the more tears flowed out. Wang Fuxiang reached out her hand and gently caressed the bamboo monarch's cheek. She hooked a strand of bamboo monarch's gray hair with her finger. Looking at this strand of gray hair, Wang Fuxiang felt that it was time for her to speak her mind. Fu Wenju, I promise to be with you, but I have a request. The bamboo monarch quietly looked into Wang Fuxiang's eyes and didn't speak for a long time. He then gently touched Wang Fuxiang's cheek and let her side face lean against his chest. I can't imagine a future without you, so don't force me to think about it. If I really have to choose, I hope that you can wear the ring you left for me in the years to come. As the bamboo monarch spoke, the gurgling stream outside the courtyard shone like light, as if it had suddenly illuminated the flashy past. The light of the stream shone through the smoke from the copper cauldron into the courtyard and onto Wang Fuxiang and the bamboo monarch, leaving behind this moment of mutual dependence. When Wang Fuxiang heard the bamboo monarch's words, she choked up and couldn't say anything. Only the glistening tears in her eyes preserved the solemn promise of the man beside her. A man had given her his wealth and was willing to give up his life for her, but because of his own reasons, this man had chosen to face death. Although she was touched, Wang Fuxiang understood that if only one person could live, then letting the bamboo monarch live would be the best choice for Huiyao. It would also be the best choice for herself. Wang Fuxiang murmured softly. Fu Wenju, don't forget me for the rest of your life. Wang Fuxiang's murmur was so soft that the bamboo lord couldn't hear it clearly because Wang Fuxiang had suppressed it between her teeth. At this moment, the sudden chirping of cicadas resounded through the quiet purple bamboo garden. The bamboo monarch seemed to have expected this, but he didn't bother with the sudden chirping. He continued to stroke the bamboo comb in his hand, gently combing the hair of the person in front of him. Xiaofan had been waiting at the entrance of the purple bamboo garden for a long time. When he heard the chirping of cicadas, he spoke softly. Welcome, Lord Cicada Cry, to Purple Bamboo Garden. My master is unwell, so I can only receive you on his behalf. If I have not taken good care of you, I hope Lord Cicada Cry will be magnanimous enough to forgive me. Although Xiaofan said this, he had no intention of leading the cicadas into Purple Bamboo Garden. As the bamboo monarch's eldest disciple, Xiaofan had been helping the bamboo monarch manage Purple Bamboo Garden for the past 10 years. He could be considered the housekeeper of Purple Bamboo Garden, so he could naturally guess the reason for the cicadas' visit. The first one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 9:17. Xiaofan also understood the intention of his master, Bamboo Monarch. Therefore, Xiaofan's real purpose here was to stop everyone, including Cicada Cry. At this moment, a greenish-black metallic luster flickered between heaven and earth. A man in metal armor appeared beside Cicada Cry. The man in metal armor said to Xiaofan as soon as he appeared, "Bring me to see Bamboo Monarch." Xiaofan shook his head and said. My master said that Purple Bamboo Forest won't be welcoming guests in the future, even if it's Lord Iron Prison. If Lord Iron Prison is willing to sit in Purple Bamboo Forest, I can bring Lord Iron Prison to have a taste of Purple Bamboo Forest specialty, Bamboo Creek tea. Iron Prison's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice. Bamboo Monarch won't be welcoming guests, but I insist on seeing Bamboo Monarch. As Iron Prison spoke, Xiaofan squinted his eyes and said with a smile. Lord Iron Prison, please don't make things difficult for a junior like me and my master. As he spoke, Xiaofan had already triggered his aura. However, it didn't pounce on Iron Prison and Cicada Cry. Instead, it stood firmly at the entrance of Purple Bamboo Forest. However, the release of his aura was equivalent to Xiaofan's attitude towards Iron Prison and Cicada Cry. Xiaofan was Bamboo Monarch's first disciple and was extremely powerful. However, Iron Prison clearly didn't take Xiaofan seriously. Iron Prison snorted coldly and was about to take a step forward when he was stopped by a pair of hands. Cicada Cry sighed and thought to himself. Iron Prison has always been impatient. Even if something good comes to him, it will turn into a bad thing. Seeing that Iron Prison was still looking at him in confusion, Cicada Cry said straightforwardly. I'm sure many of my old friends who parted at Yeyang Palace will come to Purple Bamboo Forest later. By then, even if Bamboo Monarch doesn't want to see them, he will have to come out and meet them since so many of his old friends are waiting outside. Hearing this, Iron Prison stopped his feet that were about to take a step forward. Xiaofan still maintained his aura. In just a short while, 6 people had arrived in front of Xiaofan. Cicada Cry said to a middle-aged man with a plump figure. Tian Feng, why didn't you stay in your garden and came to Purple Bamboo Forest? What a surprise! Cicada Cry said with a frown. Tian Feng had never been on good terms with Bamboo Monarch. They could be considered as archenemies. Tian Feng's visit to Purple Bamboo Garden at this time surprised the Bamboo Monarch. Tian Feng did not even look at the cicada when he heard this. He looked into the depths of the Purple Bamboo Forest and said. The Pagoda Cannon's 100-year plan and the awakening of the slumbering ones, Bamboo Monarch must recover his health. With one sentence, Tian Feng expressed his attitude. Tian Feng ignored Xiaofan, who was blocking in front of him, and circulated his spiritual power. Bamboo Monarch, 6 old friends are waiting for you outside. If you don't come out to see us old friends, we can only go in and find you. Tian Feng's words resounded through the entire Purple Bamboo Forest, startling the spirit creatures that were letting out phoenix cries and the purple gold carps that were being raised in the stream. In the depths of the bamboo forest, a few bamboos that were almost completely covered in golden threads suddenly erupted with the aura of spiritual power. Xiaofan also stared at Tian Feng gloomily. However, Tian Feng's actions made Xiaofan heave a sigh of relief. The Bamboo Lord did not even frown when he heard Tian Feng's voice. He looked at Wang Fuxiang with a gentle gaze and said softly. Xiang, wait for me here. After saying that, the Bamboo Lord's spiritual power surged violently, and a green-haired child dressed in green clothes appeared in front of the Bamboo Lord. The Bamboo Lord said softly to the child in front of him. LV Nian, guard your big sister Xiang well. If anyone crosses the 2 bamboo crane auspicious immortal furnaces in front of the door, you don't have to hold back. Just kill them on the spot. When LV Nian heard the Bamboo Lord's words, his originally black eyes were suddenly dyed with a hint of green. This hint of green seemed to penetrate through one world after another, emitting a feeling of immortality. The green-haired child called LV Nian said obediently. All right, Big Brother Bamboo. LV Nian will obediently protect Big Sister Xiang here. After the Bamboo Lord instructed LV Nian, he said softly to Wang Fuxiang, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid. Wait for me. After saying that, the bamboo lord's figure disappeared from the pavilion. LV Nian looked at Wang Fuxiang and said obediently, "Hello, big sister Xiang." He then took out all sorts of food for Wang Fuxiang and placed them on the table, guarding her like a little adult. Wang Fuxiang had been concealing her identity as a spirit qi professional in the elegant pavilion, acting like an ordinary person. In fact, Wang Fuxiang was also a spirit qi professional, but no matter how strong she would not be stronger than the bamboo monarch's fae. Just like what the bamboo monarch had said earlier, LV Nian would never be able to do anything stupid even if she wanted to. When the bamboo monarch told LV Nian to kill him on the spot, Wang Fuxiang could tell that the bamboo monarch was determined to kill her. At this moment, bamboo monarch's figure appeared beside Xia Chen. The moment he appeared, Supreme Chef also arrived at the purple bamboo forest. Originally, Supreme Chef was going to bring Li Zhonglin, Zhang Yingying, and Zhong Zhe. However, after receiving the Moon Empress call, the bamboo monarch hastened his journey and left Li Zhonglin, Zhang Yingying, and Zhong Zhe behind. However, he did not expect that the other 6 would arrive before him. They had even called out the bamboo monarch. When bamboo monarch saw Supreme Chef coming alone, he nodded and said in a clear voice, "This monarch's body is unwell, yet you all insist on calling me here to reminisce. I wonder what you all wish to reminisce about." The bamboo monarch's tone was still calm, but it made Xia Chen, who had been following the bamboo monarch, narrow his eyes. His master, bamboo monarch, would usually chuckle after he finished speaking, but he did not do so now. This meant that his master, bamboo monarch, was already in a rage. Xia Chen had never seen his master angry, but he knew that the milder a person was, the scarier they were when they were angry. Upon hearing the bamboo monarch's words, even Tian Feng, who was not on good terms with the bamboo monarch, did not speak immediately. However, the stubborn iron prison could not help but take a step forward and say, "No matter what, bamboo monarch, nothing must happen to your body." As soon as iron prison finished speaking, the originally pale bamboo monarch's face lost all color. Then, his body was like a bamboo shoot that broke out of the ground. His face instantly became healthy and rosy, and his white hair turned jet black. At this moment, the bamboo monarch had returned to his usual appearance. He summoned the green bamboo that never left his side and held it in his hand. At this moment, the bamboo monarch had returned to his usual appearance. He summoned the green bamboo that never left his side and held it in his hand. A majestic aura soared into the sky and ruthlessly pressed down on the 7 venerables, including Supreme Chef, who were standing opposite the bamboo monarch. The bamboo monarch did not say a word, but the silent bamboo monarch had already made his attitude clear. The bamboo monarch's aura made the smile in Cicada Ming's eyes disappear. "Bamboo monarch, we have an agreement that we will not use powers above the myth breed level. Have you forgotten? There was still one more night watch, and it was not over yet. It might be half an hour later." End of this chapter. Chapter 9:18. Cicada Cry did not expect the problem to be so thorny. Bamboo Monarch would still place his feelings for Wang Fuxiang above his own life in the face of life and death. Sensing Bamboo Monarch's anger, Chef Supreme was in a dilemma. Chef Supreme had come here with the same intention as the other holiness, but the Moon Empress phone call made him hesitate. The Moon Empress's words were unclear. She only said she had a solution but did not say what it was. Bamboo Monarch's soul was being corroded by misfortune, so things like the 100 Rui wine had almost no effect on Bamboo Monarch and Wang Fuxiang. Chef Supreme could not figure out what the Moon Empress could do. However, with his understanding of the Moon Empress, if she said she had a solution, it would not be a lie. Chef Supreme took a step forward and opened his palm. A flame with a myriad of colors appeared in his palm. An aura comparable to Bamboo Monarch's burst out of Chef Supreme's body. Feeling Chef Supreme's aura, the expressions of the other 6 holiness changed slightly. They looked at Chef Supreme in confusion and thought to themselves. Why did Chef Supreme also violate the agreement? Everyone knew that Chef Supreme and Bamboo Monarch had always been on good terms. Could it be that Chef Supreme had decided to attack Wang Fuxiang for Bamboo Monarch's health? Then, Supreme Chef's method shocked the other 6 His Holiness. Everyone listened to Supreme Chef's words. I support Bamboo Monarch's choice. After saying that, Chef Supreme walked to Bamboo Monarch and nodded at him. Cicada Cry, Iron Prison, Tian Feng, and the others did not understand what Chef Supreme was planning. Suddenly, something strange happened. A beam of light descended from the sky. Everyone, including Bamboo Monarch, looked up at the sky and saw a crescent moon hanging high in the sky above the purple bamboo forest. The crescent moon released moonlight that looked like a chain, and the Moon Empress walked lightly toward the ground. Behind the Moon Empress was Cold Moon, who always wore a frosty expression. Apart from Chef Supreme, the Moon Empress' arrival shocked everyone present. Given the Moon Empress' character, it was impossible for her to personally participate in such matters. What was the reason for her to come to the purple bamboo forest? After the Moon Empress descended, she headed straight for the Bamboo Monarch. The Moon Empress walked in front of the Bamboo Monarch and handed the brocade box to him. Under the puzzled gaze of the Bamboo Monarch, she spoke. This box contains what you need the most right now. Upon hearing that, Morbius chuckled. Morbius had been by Lin Yuan's side ever since he was born, but this was the first time it had heard Lin Yuan curse. Morbius was very happy that Lin Yuan liked the exclusive skill Klein hub that it had obtained after becoming a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan, the changes in the Spirit Lock spatial zone will definitely amaze you even more. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan immediately brought Chimey, Genius, the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope, the Purple Firmament, and the Slaughter Sky Butterfly into the Spirit Lock spatial zone. As soon as he entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone, he was immediately suffocated by the pure spirit chi and started coughing. He only got used to the spirit chi density after a long time. If the spirit chi concentration in the Spirit Lock spatial zone was a bottle of plain water previously, then the spirit chi concentration in the Spirit Lock spatial zone now gave people the feeling of iced cola. It was 10 times denser than before. The increase in the spirit chi density didn't just speed up Lin Yuan's nurturing phase. At the same time, it also gave the phase that Lin Yuan couldn't induce to mutate under the spirit chi density in the past. It was just like how the Starlight Ji Tan couldn't mutate into the Astrologer Ji Tan under the spirit chi density of other creation masters, but it could become the Astrologer Ji Tan in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Chimey, Genius, the Purple Firmament, and the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope used to stay in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Chimey and Genius had experienced the Spirit Lock spatial zone's enhancements, so they weren't particularly surprised by the changes in the spirit chi density. However, the Slaughter Sky Butterfly was different. In the Spirit Lock spatial zone, the Slaughter Sky Butterfly felt as though it had arrived at the legendary fairyland. Every breath it took had an indescribable sense of comfort. After sensing the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's surprise, the Purple Firmament started to explain to it like a warm man. Lin Yuan didn't bother about the Slaughter Sky Butterfly. The Slaughter Sky Butterfly that had issued a master servant contract to the Purple Firmament was no different from the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee and Red Thorn. It was equivalent to Lin Yuan's own phase. In fact, the most exciting change in the Spirit Lock spatial zone wasn't the increase in the spirit chi density, but the increase in the Spirit Lock spatial zone's area. The Spirit Lock spatial zone's area was undoubtedly many times larger than before. When Morbius was at normal, the Spirit Lock spatial zone's area was only 20 square meters. At Elite, it had grown to 40 square meters. At Bronze, it had grown to 80 square meters. Previously, after every major grade increase, the area would double from the original base. However, Now that Morbius was a fantasy breed in Silver X, the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone's area had increased to 480 square meters. 480 square meters of area was 6 times larger than before. This was equivalent to increasing the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone's resource output by 6 times. At the same time, as the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone's area grew, the Spirit Pool and the Pure Land of Bliss area had also expanded. The original Spirit Pool was around 5 square meters, but it had now reached 30 square meters. It was starting to look like a small pond. The enlarged Spirit Pool would also be able to break down the energy ores faster and replenish the Spirit Chi in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. The blue stone bowl that was used to condense the Spirit Chi crystal was still the same, but the material of the blue stone bowl felt much heavier than before, and there were many small engravings on the inside. There was an additional scarlet metal platform at the edge of the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. There was a huge groove in the metal platform. When Lin Yuan walked over and saw this groove, he knew that the copper-colored metal platform was a facility added to the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone due to Morbius' exclusive skill, Klein Hub. This was because the groove in the middle was just the right size for a space hub. Lin Yuan used his hand to lightly tap the copper metal platform twice and subconsciously started to think about how to use it. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Morbius say to him, "Lin Yuan, the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone's area has increased because it tripled when I became a fantasy breed. When I became silver, it doubled again. That's why it has the current area." Upon hearing Morbius' words, Lin Yuan broke into a smile and thought, previously, when Morbius was asleep, I had to think about the changes in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Now that Morbius was awake, Lin Yuan could just ask Morbius if he had any questions. There was no need for him to think hard. "Morbius, how do you activate the exclusive skill, Klein Hub, that you obtained after becoming a fantasy breed?" Chapter 3 Sad Face. End of this chapter. Chapter 9:19. It was the first time Lin Yuan had heard of a Class 6 dimensional rift during the Evernight General Meeting. He also knew that Class 6 dimensional rifts could connect to the entire dimensional world. At that time, Lin Yuan felt that the most suitable dimensional world for human development should be the Swamp World. Among the 5 major dimensional rifts, the probability of the Swamp Dimensional Rift opening was second only to the Water World Dimensional Rift. It was considered one of the few dimensional rifts that opened. Furthermore, the Swamp Dimensional Rift that opened with relatively few openings was very dangerous. Most of them were black quagmires filled with humus, making it difficult for humans to set foot in them. Swamps could turn into land with the injection of massive amounts of earth elements. However, the cost wasn't something ordinary people could afford. After all, exploring the Swamp Dimensional Rift wasn't like developing factions in the Swamp World, where one could develop continuously. As long as the source-type items in the Swamp Dimensional Rift's hub were taken out, the Swamp Dimensional Rift would close, and all the previous investments would be wasted. The Swamp Dimensional Rift only had 40% of land, and there were plenty of poisonous swamp beasts and carnivorous plants. 60% of the Swamp World had a massive group of dimensional creatures, swamp crocodiles. The swamp crocodiles could be said to be the most flourishing species in the Swamp World. The swamp crocodiles had a large number of Class 1 swamp crocodiles that were comparable to Bronze Phase. Such swamp crocodiles were mostly half a meter long and belonged to young crocodiles. Although they had sharp teeth in their mouths, all the nutrients they absorbed were used to grow their scales. As a result, the masseter muscles in their mouths had yet to develop, and their strength wasn't considered strong. Even if they were to bite a bronze fey with weak defense, their large mouths could only ensure that the sharp teeth would pierce into the fey's muscles and wouldn't be able to effectively tear it apart. This caused the Class 1 swamp crocodiles to be compared to the Class 1 alien insects. The comparison between Class 1 swamp crocodiles and Class 1 alien insects had even caused a wave among scholars. Scholars used all sorts of evidence to rank the Class 1 swamp crocodiles and Class 1 alien insects. The final conclusion was that the Class 1 alien insects in insect groups might not be able to penetrate the defenses of the Class 1 swamp crocodiles. However, when the Class 1 swamp crocodile's sharp teeth bit on the insect armor, it was equivalent to a large clamp that could be pried open by the Class 1 alien insects at any time. If the Class 1 swamp crocodiles took the initiative to bite the Class 1 alien insects, the Class 1 alien insects would be able to injure them instead. Thus, scholars ranked the Class 1 swamp crocodile's strength below the Class alien insects. The existence of the Class 1 swamp crocodile was considered the shame of the swamp dimensional rift. However, when the marsh crocodile reached Class 3 and was comparable to a gold fay, it would enter adulthood. A level 3 swamp crocodile's body length could reach 2 meters. However, the level 3 marsh crocodile had already completely developed its masseter muscles, and its strength had undergone an earth-shattering change compared to when it was young. Its large mouth could easily bite through the flesh of a gold fay and even crush the bones of a gold fay with weak defense. In the pitch-black swamp, the newly matured level 3 swamp crocodile floated like a piece of rotten wood, ready to ambush its prey at the edge of the swamp at any moment. When the Class 3 swamp crocodile, which was equivalent to a gold fay, bit onto the target, it would use its 2-meter-long body to perform a rapid death roll and easily twist off the prey's limbs. Scholars had also made comparisons between level 3 marsh crocodiles and level 3 alien insects. When alien insects reached level 3, they would evolve into a huge variety. However, the evolution of the swamp crocodile was relatively monotonous. A single Class 3 swamp crocodile would use its large mouth to tear, death roll, and tough scales to easily fight against 2 Class 3 alien insects without falling into a disadvantageous position. Even if a Class 3 swamp crocodile couldn't defeat a Class 3 horn demon, it would definitely be one of the top Class 3-dimensional lifeforms. A Class 1-dimensional rift might already have a Class 3 swamp crocodile. Therefore, the exploration of the swamp dimensional rifts had always been a difficult problem for low-ranked spirit chi professionals, while high-ranked spirit chi professionals didn't like to explore the swamp dimensional rifts. Due to the terrain, the exploration difficulty of the Class 1 swamp dimensional rifts was basically the same as other Class 2-dimensional rifts. In terms of resources, the resources produced by other Class 2-dimensional rifts were undoubtedly several times more than the Class 1 swamp dimensional rifts. This caused the swamp dimensional rifts to be in a situation where very few people were willing to explore. Such a situation directly caused the swamp dimensional rifts to be in a shortage of resources in the market. For example, the swamp crocodile's scales had always been used as superior leather. The swamp crocodile's skin was made into half-body armor, leather armor, and other spirit chi clothing, which had a relatively high price. The abyss dimensional rifts and the water world dimensional rifts had special products like heavenly flames and heavenly water. The swamp dimensional rifts also had them. Due to the extreme difficulty of exploring the swamp dimensional rifts, the swamp soil produced by the swamp dimensional rifts was more expensive than heavenly flames and heavenly water. Heavenly flames were a kind of aggregation formed by special fire elements, and it was the same for the swamp soil. The swamp soil was a kind of special earth element synthesis product. Burying the swamp soil underground could greatly promote the growth of plant phase. It would allow the entire area of soil to suddenly be filled with abundant nutrients. At the same time, the swamp soil was also an excellent nurturing material for some earth-type phase. When Lin Yuan had constructed the Return from Faraway Manor, when Yu had buried a few kinds of mid-grade swamp soil that were produced from the Class 3 swamp dimensional rifts. The mid-grade swamp soil combined with tens of thousands of kilograms of energy ores allowed the plant phase in the Return from Faraway Manor to grow extremely quickly. The Return from Faraway Manor's 3,000-meter bamboo forest was filled with normal phase, square bamboos and tang bamboos. During this half a year, without any creation master's enhancements, Feng Zhu and Tang Zhu had already evolved from normal to elite with just the energy provided by the swamp soil and energy ores. It was obvious how beneficial the swamp soil was to plant-type phase. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Morbius answered. In order to activate the Klein hub, I just need to find a dimensional rift in advance and enter it to reach the location of the dimensional hub. The Klein hub will devour the selected dimensional hub. At that time, a dimensional rift will appear above the Klein hub in the spirit lock spatial zone that is connected to the dimensional world. However, once the Klein hub devours a dimensional hub connected to a dimensional rift, it will not be able to change the type of dimensional hub it devours before it touches the core of that dimensional world. Lin Yuan, you must be careful when you choose to let Klein hub devour the dimensional hub. Lin Yuan nodded upon hearing Morbius' words. If it's a choice, I already have an idea. I plan to let the Klein hub devour the swamp world's dimensional hub and open a dimensional rift that connects to the swamp world in the spirit lock spatial zone. The first one was even worse. End of chapter. Chapter 920. While speaking, Lin Yuan's eyes clearly revealed his ambition. When he had found out about the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift, he had thought about whether his faction, Sky City, should develop in the Abyss world. If he developed in the Abyss, he would be able to provide the exceptional flames for the phoenix-perching Chinese parasol tree and chimey in the future. After witnessing the might of the Roaring Sun's sacred flame in the Night End Palace, he also wanted to obtain a top-notch extraordinary flame. Even if a top-notch extraordinary flame was not of any practical use to him for a while, it was simply too domineering to use it as a chandelier at the top of the mansion. Furthermore, by the time Chimey attempted to break through to the Fantasy V transformation, it would require top-notch strange flames to continue enhancing its bloodline. It allowed Chimey's bloodline to evolve to a higher level. However, now that the Spirit Lock spatial zone had the Klein hub, which was connected to the swamp world, it was as if Lin Yuan could develop the swamp world by himself. Although the Class 6 Swamp Dimensional Rift would also connect to the swamp world, there were no Class 6 Swamp Dimensional Rifts in the Radiance Federation. Even if Lin Yuan might encounter Spirit Chi professionals in the swamp world, they would definitely come from other federations. Of course, the swamp world was massive, and it was no different from searching for a needle in a haystack to find the other Federation's Spirit Chi professionals. The Slaughter Sky Butterfly had become a fantasy breed and issued a master-servant contract with Purple Firmament. It was the same as Lin Yuan's Fae. Lin Yuan had yet to make any arrangements for the heaven-slaughtering butterfly. Now, it seemed that the killer butterfly could be considered the pioneer of the swamp world. With the strength of a creation breed like the Slaughterer Butterfly, there wouldn't be any problems as long as he didn't encounter a level 10 swamp dimensional creature in the swamp world. Even if they encountered a grade 10 swamp dimensional creature, it might not be able to defeat a pure offense-type scavenging butterfly. He had already used true data to check the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's attributes. After Morbius became a fantasy breed, Lin Yuan could indeed check the creation breed Slaughterer Butterfly's true data. He had long been curious about the creation breed phase data, and the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's true data did not disappoint him at all. It could be said that the killer butterfly's abilities and exclusive skills were the best interpretation of power. Simple and violent, breaking 10,000 techniques with one force. With the Slaughter Sky Butterfly around, it could maximize the safety of all of Lin Yuan's development and construction in the swamp world. At critical moments, he could also let the blue flash purple butterfly communicate with the Slaughter Butterfly in the swamp world and let it return to the Spirit Lock spatial zone through the Klein hub. He would then summon the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly that had returned to the Spirit Lock spatial zone as his strongest trump card. Since he had decided to let the Klein hub devour the dimensional hub in the swamp dimensional rift, given Lin Yuan's character, he would naturally do as he said. He was now very curious about what the swamp world looked like. After making the decision, he did not immediately leave the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Instead, he started to organize the resources in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. As the Spirit Lock spatial zone expanded, it caused the originally packed Spirit Lock spatial zone to look empty. He made a simple division of the Spirit Lock spatial zone's 480 square meters and placed the floating island whale, Gray, the twin red pagoda, and the rations vine in the Pure Land of Bliss. The Pure Land of Bliss had expanded to 40 square meters, which was half the size of the Spirit Lock spatial zone. It was enough for Lin Yuan to store the most precious resources in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Then, Lin Yuan took out row after row of shelves from the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box, which he had asked Hu Quan to make with rare wood. There were lifelike carvings on the shelves. At that time, Hu Quan still did not understand why Lin Yuan would waste his time with ordinary wood when he had so much jade-textured wood. Even ordinary wood was relatively precious. Lin Yuan had asked Hu Quan to make these shelves in advance for the expansion of the Spirit Lock spatial zone. However, he did not expect the Spirit Lock spatial zone to expand to such a scale, so the shelves prepared in advance still seemed a little lacking. Lin Yuan arranged these shelves, together with the shelves with the jade-textured wood, into 2 long rows. He then took out wooden boards made of various rare wood and placed them on these shelves. After filling these shelves, Lin Yuan took out a large number of all kinds of rare wood boards and piled them on the Spirit Lock spatial zone's ground. After piling up 5 large piles, Lin Yuan stopped taking out wooden boards from the diamond face storage box. Then, he simply spread a large number of coral jades on the Spirit Lock spatial zone's ground. When Silver Flower saw Lin Yuan take out the coral jades, she happily waved the 3 pairs of wings on her back and flew back and forth around him. Her face revealed a suspicious blush as she softly muttered, "Lin Yuan treats Silver Flower the best. Lin Yuan treats Silver Flower the best." Lin Yuan was currently only making preliminary use of the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Next, Lin Yuan planned to trouble Hu Quan to carve more shelves for him. The coral jade spread on the ground could also be placed on the shelves. Lin Yuan planned to carefully tidy up the Spirit Lock spatial zone after returning to the mansion. At the same time, he also tried to nurture a few fays that had previously responded greatly to the pure spiritual power in the Spirit Lock spatial zone but had not evolved or mutated. The increase in the spirit chi concentration in the Spirit Lock spatial zone had imperceptibly accelerated the floating island whale's incubation time. Under the sudden increase in the spirit chi concentration, the floating island whale absorbed 10 times more spirit chi in one breath than before. This naturally led to the demand for water elemental pearls. This caused the floating island whale's demand for water elemental pearls to reach 10 times more than before. Fortunately, Lin Yuan had saved a lot of heavenly maiden-grade water elemental pearls. Otherwise, it would not have been enough for the floating island whale. Although the Spirit Lock spatial zone's concentration had increased by 10 times, the aquamarine elemental shellfish's production speed of elemental pearls was not 10 times as fast as before. Lin Yuan estimated that the aquamarine elemental shellfish's production speed was only about 3 times faster than before. Such a production speed obviously could not meet the floating island whale's demand for water elemental pearls. Therefore, Lin Yuan still had to think of a way to get some young elemental shellfish in a short time. Lin Yuan suddenly felt that although the production speed of various types of elemental shellfish had increased, his demand for heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls had also increased. The development of the swamp world required a huge amount of pure earth elements to turn the swamp into land. The earth elemental heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls were undoubtedly the best choice to provide pure earth elements. In addition, the slaughter sky butterfly also needed a large number of earth element heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls to restore its depleted bloodline. Lin Yuan was now determined to obtain the elemental shellfish. The second was even more. End of this chapter. Chapter 921. However, Lin Yuan wasn't worried about the source of the elemental shellfish. The increase in the spirit chi density in the spirit lock spatial zone had increased the speed at which the little demoness nurtured the golden lotus brocade. His identity as the Moon Empress disciple had already spread among the veteran factions and the top factions during the Great Night meeting. Currently, only the Coiling Dragon Valley and Dawn Cloud Avian can possess the golden lotus brocade plant. He contacted Coiling Dragon Valley's current clan master, Long Tu, and the great elder of Li Yun Niao Kan, both of whom had visited him at the return to Faraway Manor. The royal capital's Fey Observer Guild's master Lon Qin had also helped to advertise her golden lotus brocade. At that time, the various major forces would definitely come to him for the golden lotus brocade stock. Lin Yuan could also take the opportunity to raise his request for the elemental shellfish when the major factions sought him. By gathering the various factions' elemental shellfish resources, the number of elemental pearls in Lin Yuan's possession would increase tremendously. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had been developing luxury goods resources recently, and the number of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in its hands far exceeded its needs. The heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls could be processed by the Heavenly Craft Pavilion into top-notch luxury goods and sold to the market. Presumably, everyone would go crazy for it. At that time, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's luxury resources could also take advantage of the situation to become a brand and suppress and annex other forces in the market that had luxury resources as their function. Perhaps in the future, when there would be occasions like the Nix conference, Listen could also attend as a family head of a top faction. After Lin Yun left the Spirit Lock spatial zone, he called Lu Jie. Lin Yuan was currently in the wilderness 1,500 kilometers away from the outskirts of the royal capital. This place was even closer to Ascending Dragon City than the royal capital. Furthermore, Ascending Dragon City had the highest probability of opening a swamp dimensional rift among the 36 major cities. Now was the end of the opening phase of the dimensional rift, and it was the easiest time for a dimensional rift to open without any warning. Therefore, it should not be difficult for him to find an open swamp dimensional rift now. As the chief guard's disciple, Lu Jie only needed to make a phone call to the left and right hall masters to immediately know where the swamp dimensional rift was opening near Ascending Dragon City. The call was quickly picked up by Lu Jie, and the first thing he said after picking up the phone was, "Lin Yuan, I just heard from Wen Yu that the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer have returned to the mansion. Are you all right?" Lin Yuan replied with a smile. "Brother Lu, I'm fine here. Are you in the Yeyang Palace or the land of soul suppression?" Lu Jie had just said that he had heard the news of the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer's return to the manor from Wen Yu, which meant that Lu Jie was not in the manor at the moment. If Lu Jie was in the land of spirit suppression and Night End Palace, he would not have to call the left and right protectors to ask about the swamp dimensional rift near Ascending Dragon City. All Lu Jie needed to do was to check the reports from the spirit guards regarding the dimensional space. "Lin Yuan, I am now in the land of spirit suppression. Master has already set off for the Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift for a final inspection. I'm planning to return to the manor." Lin Yuan asked. "Big Brother Lu, help me check the location of the closest swamp dimensional rift to Ascending Dragon City." After saying that, he quickly added another sentence. "It would be best if it is a Class 1 dimensional rift." As the grade of the dimensional rift increased, its surface area would also increase. Therefore, if Lin Yuan wanted to find a dimensional hub in a dimensional rift, a Class 1 dimensional rift was undoubtedly the most suitable. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lu Jie replied without asking much. "Lin Yuan, I'll go check it now. Once I'm done, I'll give you a call." After saying that, Lu Jie hung up the phone. Lin Yuan stretched his body and felt that he still had the foresight. While collecting the ethereal jellyfish's tentacles, he had asked Listen to use the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's channels to place the tentacles in the 3 main cities closest to the royal capital. Lin Yuan planned to wait for the ethereal jellyfish's tentacles to be collected before using the royal capital as the center to radiate to the entire Radiant sect. At that time, he would be able to use the ethereal jellyfish's ability node to teleport to any location, saving Lin Yuan the time of rushing. In less than 3 minutes, Wuxia called Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, there are a total of 3 swamp dimensional rifts that have opened outside Ascending Dragon City. Only one of them is Class 2, while the other 2 are Class 3. There is no Class 1. The 2 Class 3 swamp dimensional rifts have opened in places guarded by the Spirit Guards and Ascending Dragon Guards. However, the Class 2 one has opened in a small place called Millstone Town. Millstone Town's location is too remote. This Class 2 swamp dimensional rift was only sent out by a spirit guard who happened to be doing a mission near Millstone Town and ran out of the dimensional rift's shielding range. After sending out the news, that spirit guard quickly returned to Millstone Town and prepared to participate in the resistance against the swamp dimensional creature Tide. However, Millstone Town is too remote. Even if the Ascending Dragon Guards and Spirit Guards received the news, they would need at least 40 minutes to rush over. Wuxia's tone was very sorrowful, and he only hated that he could not appear in Millstone Town now. Wuxia knew that Millstone Town was a place that Lin Yuan had once protected with his life as black. However, this place was now facing a calamity again. It was very likely to disappear from Ascending Dragon City's territory. There was a high chance that Class 4 swamp crocodiles would appear in the creature Tide from the Class 2 swamp dimensional rift. Swamp dimensional lifeforms like the swamp crocodiles would enter a berserk state when there was a lack of water. Any Class 4 swamp crocodile, which was equivalent to a platinum fey, would be equivalent to a destructive meat grinder in Millstone Town. The strongest expert in a border town would at most have a low-quality gold fey. Previously, there was also a spirit guard team stationed in Millstone Town. However, the Radiance Federation was simply too big, and the spirit guards and Ascending Dragon Guards were simply not enough in times of emergency. Those spirit guard teams were roaming around to guard various resource points like the Endless Forest, slowly forming a small town that was not within Ascending Dragon City's planning area. Wuxia only hoped that there would be a team of powerful spirit chi professionals in Millstone Town to help Millstone Town overcome the current crisis. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's eyes shrank and immediately replied, "Big Brother Lu, I understand. Brother Lu, I understand. I will return to Yuan Manor for dinner tonight." After speaking, Lin Yuan hung up the phone and circulated his spiritual power to teleport to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's office in Ascending Dragon City. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's staff stationed in Ascending Dragon City was so frightened that they screamed. Lin Yuan did not explain much and summoned the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly. He then issued the first order to the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly with a grave expression. "Slaughtering Sky Butterfly, take me to Millstone Town according to the map I gave you." While speaking, Lin Yuan had already handed over his cell phone, which had the map to Millstone Town on the screen. Lin Yuan was not a prophet, so he naturally would not bury the ethereal jellyfish's tentacles in Millstone Town in advance. If he wanted to save Millstone Town now, the only thing he could rely on was the creation breed Slaughtering Sky Butterfly's power. Only the creation breed's power could instantly rush to Millstone Town, which was thousands of kilometers away from here. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly flapped its butterfly wings lightly, and then it suddenly enlarged in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's office. It became a wingspan of about 3 meters. The Slaughtering Sky Butterfly's back of such a size was just enough to carry a person. In order to hurry, the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly did not conceal its creation breed aura. When the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly expanded, the creation breed's aura suddenly descended in Ascending Dragon City. Third, end of this chapter. Chapter 922. The Slaughter Sky Butterfly had only released its aura as a creation breed fey. The Slaughter Sky Butterfly did not target anyone, but its massive aura seemed to have lowered the height of all the buildings in Ascending Dragon City by about 5 meters. It made the ordinary people and spirit chi professionals near the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's office feel suffocated. Everyone who sensed this creation breed aura raised their heads in horror and looked in the direction of the slaughter sky butterfly. This included a middle-aged man who looked 70% similar to Long Tu in the Ascending Dragon City Lord residence. After the middle-aged man sensed the creation breed phase aura, he waved his hand and summoned a wolf beast with saber teeth. This wolf beast had 4 pairs of broken wings on its back, and a dark and ferocious aura seeped out from the broken black wings. The aura emitted by the wolf beast summoned by the middle-aged man was much weaker than that of the killer butterfly. However, this wolf beast's strength had reached the pinnacle of Myth 3 and was just a step away from becoming a creation breed. The middle-aged man could not be bothered with the wolf beast's aura or the creation breed's aura. He leaped onto the wolf beast's back and headed toward the creation breed's aura. The middle-aged man did not believe that anyone would dare to behave atrociously in Ascending Dragon City for no reason. A creation breed fae would definitely understand the punishment for making a move in the city. They would definitely be locked up in the sin-cleansing pond for a year. Therefore, the middle-aged man wanted to understand why this creation breed fae would release its aura in Ascending Dragon City. After soaring into the sky on the wolf beast, the middle-aged man saw a milky blue butterfly with a purple halo flying high above Ascending Dragon City. On the butterfly's back was a youth wearing white and blue spirit chi clothes. The youth was looking at him with a stern expression as though he was waiting for his arrival. The middle-aged man rode the wolf beast to the youth and shouted, "I am Ascending Dragon City City Lord, Long Xiao. I am Ascending Dragon City City Lord, Long Xiao. Why did you let the creation breed fae release its aura in Ascending Dragon City?" As the City Lord of Ascending Dragon City, Long Xiao's strength was only at the pinnacle of Emperor class and had yet to reach the level of an Emperor class expert. However, Long Xiao's tone was filled with a questioning tone. As he spoke, Long Xiao's gaze swept back and forth between the slaughter sky butterfly and Lin Yuan. He did not understand how Lin Yuan could control a creation breed fae at his current age. Could this youth in front of him be an indecent Emperor-class expert who had intentionally maintained his appearance at 18 or 19 years old when breaking through to S rank? However, Long Xiao immediately rejected this idea in his heart. Long Xiao wasn't a creation master, but as a pinnacle Emperor-class expert, he could still see through a person's true age. The youth in front of him was indeed only 18 or 19 years old. From the moment Lin Yuan saw Ascending Dragon City Lord Long Xiao, he was certain that Long Xiao was from the Coiling Dragon Valley, a pinnacle faction. At first glance, Long Tu and Long Xiao were 70% similar, while Long Tao and Long Xiao were 50% similar. This meant that even if Long Xiao was not a direct descendant of the Coiled Dragon Valley, his bloodline was definitely not that distant. However, time was of the essence. Lin Yuan did not have the time to talk to Long Taoka too much. Lin Yuan shook his hand and threw the 2 emblems at Long Xiao. Long Xiao was waiting for the youth in front of him to give him an answer. When he saw the youth throw the items at him, Long Xiao quickly reached out to catch them. Long Xiao caught the items that Lin Yuan threw and lowered his head to look at them. Long Xiao's body, which was on the wolf beast's back, trembled. One of the emblems was the Radiance Medal that was given to the next generation of Radiance Envoys and 10 Radiance Knights. The other was a Class 2 Creation Master's emblem that was carved with the Moon Totem. One of the emblems showed the youth's strength, while the other showed the youth's identity. Regardless of which of the 2 emblems the youth threw out, Long Xiao didn't dare to be negligent. Moreover, the youth had directly thrown out 2. At that moment, the youth's stern and pleasant voice echoed in Long Xiao's ears. A Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift has opened in the direction of Ascending Dragon City's Millstone Town. The City Lord can just send some low-class creation masters to heal the phase with damaged roots. I will settle the rest. After speaking, Lin Yuan spoke softly to the slaughter sky butterfly beneath him. Slaughter sky butterfly, let's go. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, the slaughter sky butterfly flapped its wings a few times and vanished from Long Tu's sight. Lin Yuan had said those words to Long Tu earlier to explain why he had let the slaughter sky butterfly release the creation breed phase aura in Ascending Dragon City. Secondly, it was to allow Long Shao to save a portion of the Ascending Dragon Guards and healing-type spirit Qi professionals' resources. He would send the Ascending Dragon Guards and healing-type spirit Qi professionals that were still in Ascending Dragon City to other more dangerous places. Millstone Town wasn't the only place in Ascending Dragon City that had developed from natural gathering places. These small towns were extremely similar to Millstone Town. Since Lin Yuan happened to know about Millstone Town's matter and could resolve it, then, he wouldn't have to waste Ascending Dragon City's most precious protection resources during special times. Lin Yuan had asked Long Shao to arrange for some low-class creation masters to head to Ascending Dragon City because he couldn't expose the pure land of bliss. However, he could still use the healing-type spirit Qi professionals means to heal the injured spirit Qi professionals in Millstone Town. After such a long time, the Platinum X/Fantasy 3 Jasmine Lily had already undergone an earth-shattering transformation compared to the Silver I/Fantasy I Jasmine Lily. As long as he didn't summon the Jasmine Lily, no one would associate him with black. At that moment, the flying slaughter sky butterfly had propped up the power world to help Lin Yuan block the blade-like airflow and the faint spatial ripples that appeared when he was traveling at full speed. Lin Yuan could see the pitch-black spatial ripples colliding with the shield formed by the power world with his naked eye. Just by looking at the bursts of spatial ripples, Lin Yuan was able to predict how fast the slaughter sky butterfly's wings would be each time it flapped its wings. Even so, Lin Yuan was still burning with anxiety. During the phone call with Wuxia, Lin Yuan only knew that a Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift had opened in Millstone Town. The opening of a Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift was the same as the Pinnacle Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift that Lin Yuan had encountered in Millstone Town. They both required a certain amount of time to brew. Only 5 minutes had passed since the Spirit Guard, who was doing a mission in Millstone Town, had reported the sudden appearance of a Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift. If Lin Yuan was lucky, he should be able to rush over before the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift brewed a creature tide. However, Lin Yuan only had this hope. At the same time, he understood that this hope was very slim. The first one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 923. Most of the Spirit Guards, who were doing simple missions outside during special times, only possessed Platinum Phase and were considered non-staff members of the Spirit Guards. The core members of the Spirit Guards would usually form small teams and wander around the various dimensional rifts. A Spirit Guard with a Platinum Phase would need a lot of time to run out of the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift to send a message. With that thought, Lin Yuan clenched his fists tightly. At Millstone Town's only entrance, which was the blood-soaked city wall where Lin Yuan and the others had fought, stood over 100 Spirit Qi professionals. Most of the Spirit Qi professionals had one or two Phase standing in front of them. The Phase in front of the Spirit Qi professionals were of varying strength. The stronger ones were at gold and silver, while the weaker ones were at bronze, elite, and even normal. They had grave expressions, but they had a heroic spirit of vowing to protect Millstone Town with their lives. However, the three people standing at the front had ugly expressions. One of them was the president of the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch who possessed a gold Fae. The other was a Spirit Guard who had just sent a message and hurried back to help protect Millstone Town. In front of this Spirit Guard were two mighty lions that were 4 meters long with thick manes and green beastly faces. The two Platinum V/Epic green-faced lions would roar from time to time, boosting the morale of the Spirit Qi professionals behind them. However, the spirit guard's forehead would occasionally roll down a few drops of cold sweat that landed on Millstone Town's fertile black soil in early spring. The cold sweat didn't splash as it was absorbed by the black soil. As a spirit guard, Zhao Su knew how terrifying a Class 2-dimensional rift was. A Class 2-dimensional rift wouldn't only have a few Class 3-dimensional lifeforms like a Class 1-dimensional rift. A Class 2-dimensional rift would have more than 100 Class 3-dimensional lifeforms pouring down, and at the same time, there would be more than 5 Class 4-dimensional lifeforms pouring down. If the Class 4-dimensional lifeforms had marsh crocodiles, his green-faced lions wouldn't even have a chance of winning in a one-on-one duel with them. Moreover, there was no such thing as a one-on-one duel in the dimensional lifeform tide. His 2 green-faced lions didn't even have the time to charge before they were crushed to pieces by the hundreds of level 3 swamp crocodiles. Unless there was a miracle, there was no possibility of victory. However, miracles were called miracles. How could they appear so easily? However, Zhao Su did not regret his determination to return here to defend Millstone Town with everyone despite knowing that it was impossible. This was because Zhao Su's mission as a spirit guard and the light in his heart did not allow him to take a step back. This sense of mission and courage made Zhao Su's somewhat pale face reveal a touch of heroism and determination. Zhao Su turned to look at the old president of the Millstone Town branch of the Guild Alliance. "Old President, did you sprinkle the blood essence I just gave you around the entrance of the survivor fortress built by the Guild Alliance in Millstone Town?" The old president nodded and said, "Lord Zhao Su, according to your instructions, this old man has sprinkled the jar of blood essence extracted from the level 5 swamp crocodile around the entrance of the fortress." Upon hearing that, Zhao Su's pale face finally revealed a trace of relief. The survivor fortress was an underground structure that would be built in any small town with humans in the Radiance Federation. When Millstone Town's women, children, and ordinary people without combat ability encountered such natural disasters, they would hide in the survivor fortress. The survivor fortress wasn't built to build a paradise isolated from the world, but to use strong defenses to withstand the natural disaster for a period of time. Then, they would wait for the spirit guards and ascending dragon guards' assistance. In the face of a natural disaster like the Class 2 swamp dimensional life form tide, Millstone Town's survivor fortress wouldn't even be able to withstand it for 5 minutes. Dimensional lifeforms had an extremely strong ability to sense the aura of life. If everyone hid in the survivor fortress, it would immediately be surrounded by the Class 2 swamp life form tide. With enemies on all sides, everyone inside would become delicacies for the swamp dimensional lifeforms. Therefore, the most important thing to prevent the swamp dimensional life form tide from attacking the survivor fortress was to set up defenses under Millstone Town's stone walls. Zhao Su only hoped that his men would be able to resist the Class 2 swamp life form tide for a while. Even if the swamp dimensional lifeforms that killed them found the survivor fortress, they would be afraid of the level 5 swamp crocodile blood essence that was sprinkled around the survivor fortress. The level 5 swamp crocodile blood essence should be able to delay for a period of time. Anyway, he had already sent the message to the spirit guards, and the ascending dragon guards and spirit guards would definitely be able to rush to Millstone Town within an hour. However, how should they delay for time? This was the problem that Zhao Su was currently facing. If the torrent of life was ultimately unable to build a protective barrier, then how could the souls of the spirit chi professionals behind him, who were protecting Millstone Town's wives and children, be at peace? Zhao Su only hated himself for being too weak. If he didn't have 2 platinum green-faced lions but 2 diamond green-faced lions instead. As long as he tightened the defensive line and let the 2 diamond green-faced lions block the town entrance, he would be able to delay for at least 10 minutes. At that moment, Zhao Su heard a man beside him with a croaky voice shouting, "Drink, drink more. Drink, give me a little more. Otherwise, not only will you not have gray beetles to eat, but you won't even have a horse." Zhao Su felt that this voice was filled with Zhu An's aura. However, Zhao Su also admired the youth beside him from the bottom of his heart. As a healing-type spirit chi professional, when Zhao Su had gone to deliver the message to the spirit guards, this youth and the old president had already led everyone to set up a formation outside Millstone Town. Even the survivor fortress had been set up very appropriately. Zhao Su saw this healing-type spirit chi professional, Lu Lang, pointing at the fifth bucket in front of him and saying to a bald bird, "Say, when you were a spitting turtle dove, you could drink at least 3 buckets of water. Now that you have evolved into a spitting river turtle dove, why can't you even drink the 5th bucket of water?" The spitting river turtle dove cried out with grievance and would burp a mouthful of water with every cry. When he saw the water burping out of the spitting river turtle dove, Lu Lang was so anxious that he stomped his feet. This water was a life-saving item on the battlefield. How could it burp out just like that? This water was a life-saving item on the battlefield. How could it just burp out like that? Fine, I won't drink it. Stop talking. The spitting river turtledove used its wings to pat the big bucket of water. The saliva river turtledove patted the water bucket with its wings, feeling wronged. Fortunately, the saliva river turtledove couldn't speak. Otherwise, it would have smacked Lu Lang's head and roared at him. Chapter 924. Previously, I only needed a few mouthfuls to finish the small bucket you brought. Now, the bucket you brought can almost fit me in. I have almost drunk a swimming pool's worth of water, and you still think I haven't drunk enough. Your horse is gone too. However, when the saliva river turtledove thought of the gray beetles that its owner had promised, it plunged into the bucket that could fit itself and began to gulp down the water. For some reason, Lu Lang suddenly thought of the silver-masked youth as he stood there. At that critical moment, that youth had waved his hand, and a sea of flowers had surged toward the insect swarm. The sea of flowers had devoured the alien insects and created a green belt of life for the people in Millstone Town. At the same time, the silver-masked youth summoned a strange silver/fantasy breed fae. The silver fantasy breed fae had spat out hundreds of green spots of light, which had snatched back the fading lives of the spirit chi professionals from the hands of the Grim Reaper. Ever since that night of survival, that silver-masked youth had become Lu Lang's goal and faith as a spirit chi professional. Lu Lang wasn't a fool, and he didn't think that he could survive in the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift. After being redeemed in Millstone Town and having his life extended, Lu Lang had resolutely sold his house in the royal capital and settled down in Millstone Town. He had even opened a healing center in Millstone Town with peace of mind. Although Lu Lang's contracted fae was very disgusting when it came to healing people, Lu Lang had received very little money. When encountering spirit chi professionals who were seriously injured and couldn't fork out money, Lu Lang was also willing to treat them for free. The reason why Lu Lang did this was because he wanted to continue living in the pure land where his faith was born, and protect his faith in this pure land. If there was anything that Lu Lang was worried about, it would undoubtedly be Black's official fan club. Lu Lang felt that without him around, Black's official fan club, which had just developed, would likely lose its combat power. Lu Lang normally couldn't stand people talking bad about Black on Star Web. How could a person who was willing to save others and sacrifice his life to protect the weak not be good? In fact, Lu Lang was not familiar with Black at all. Even Black himself had not joined Black's official fan club. However, as the leader of Black's official fan group, Lu Lang had been paying attention to Black's news. It could be said that Black was so low-key that it was as if it was in the dust. It clearly had a dedicated reporter, but it had never accepted an interview. One had to know that any random thing that Black did, after being interviewed and written into a report, would be enough to double Black's reputation. But he still did not do so. What was there to hate about such a person? Lu Lang's mind was already making arrangements for his funeral. Lu Lang felt that it was impossible for Tian Ningning to replace him as the new Madman Zuan. However, if he were to die, Tian Ningning would be the most suitable candidate to take over his position and become the leader of the Black Official Star Web fan group. At this moment, the sound of scales scraping against the ground rang out. The sound of the scales scraping against the ground was like raindrops hitting banana leaves, causing the entire ground to tremble. Looking over, Zhang Xian saw 4 ferocious crocodiles with dark green scales on their bodies and sharp teeth in their mouths. There was a 6-meter-long lizard in the middle of the 4 crocodiles. The lizard's limbs were very thick, and when it ran, it would occasionally spit out its tongue. When it spat out its tongue, the corner of its mouth would slide down a large piece of jelly that emitted a nauseating smell. Seeing 4 Class 4 marsh crocodiles was already enough to make one despair, but when Zhao Su saw this 6-meter-long terrifying lizard, he tightly clenched his teeth. The 2 green-faced lions revealed traces of unease as they roared. Zhao Su never expected that a Class 2-dimensional rift would actually have such a terrifying creature like the Medusa giant lizard. Based on the size of the Medusa giant lizard, it was also a Class 4-dimensional life form. However, a Class 4 Medusa giant lizard was completely capable of single-handedly fighting 4 marsh crocodiles without being at a disadvantage. The Medusa giant lizard had always existed as the snake-haired Medusa's bodyguard and rarely appeared even in Class 3 swamp-dimensional rifts. But now, an underage Class 4 Medusa giant lizard had actually entered the Class 2 swamp-dimensional rift through the dimensional hub and ran out of it. The charging Medusa giant lizard had absolute authority. A marsh crocodile was a little too close to the Medusa giant lizard and was slapped by the Medusa giant lizard's claw, causing it to stagger. However, the Class 4 marsh crocodile did not have any thoughts of resisting. It was rumored that the Medusa giant lizard was a swamp-dimensional life form that could not be contracted by spirit chi professionals, but it could be reared using a special method. The Medusa giant lizard that was reared using a special method was also able to maintain a very high degree of loyalty to humans. However, the appearance of the Medusa giant lizard was equivalent to declaring that everyone was unable to resist the Class 2 swamp creature tide. The Class 5 marsh crocodile essence blood that was sprinkled around the survivor fortress was also useless. Zhao Su, Lu Lang, and everyone else, including the old president, were in despair. In the face of absolute power, even if they could uphold their beliefs, all resistance would ultimately be futile. Upon seeing the situation, Zhao Su, who was a spirit guard with rich combat experience, yelled out, "Retreat back into the town. We have to rely on the stone wall behind us to block the charge of the Class 4 Medusa giant lizard and the 4 marsh crocodiles. Go behind the stone wall. I'll restrain the Medusa giant lizard and the 4 Class 4 marsh crocodiles. You guys." At this point, Zhao Su suddenly stopped talking. Over 100 human head-sized flies were flying out of the Class 2 swamp creature tide. After these Class 1 swamp-dimensional life-form beetles flew out, they shot energy rays at the crowd from their tails without any hesitation. As a Class 1 swamp-dimensional life form, the energy ray attack of the beetles was not strong. It was roughly equivalent to a 20-kilogram hammer smashing on a human body. However, the energy rays of the Class 1 swamp-dimensional life form beetles had burning properties. Even if 7 or 8 energy rays hit a spirit chi professional, it would still not be fatal. However, the burning would cause great damage to the spirit chi professional's body. Before Zhao Su could give his command, most of the spirit chi professionals guarding outside Millstone Town lost their mobility and fell into the mud. They were waiting for the outcome of being devoured by the swamp-dimensional life-form beetles. Lu Lang and the Saliva River turtledove in front of him were also severely injured by the beetles' energy rays. Lu Lang, who was on the ground, quickly lost consciousness. The silver-masked figure appeared in Lu Lang's mind again. At that moment, an enraged roar echoed from the horizon. "Slaughter Sky Butterfly! Apart from that Medusa giant lizard, spare none of the others." Chapter 925. Lin Yuan, who was standing on the slaughter butterfly's back, was truly enraged. If he had come a little later, the spirit chi professionals in Millstone Town would have been drowned by this endless Class 2 swamp dimensional life form tide. Especially the Class 4 Medusa giant lizard and the 4 Class 4 swamp crocodiles that led the swamp dimensional creature tide. They had opened their mouths wide and were ready to enjoy the first feast after arriving in the main world. At the same time, Lin Yuan let out a long sigh of relief. Although he had come late, he had still arrived in the nick of time. Those spirit chi professionals who were lying on the ground and crying out in pain were at most seriously injured and on the verge of death. As long as the energy rays released by the Class 1 swamp dimensional life form beetle didn't hit their heads at the same time, it would be very difficult to take the spirit chi professionals' lives. After Lin Yuan issued an order to the slaughter butterfly, it pressed its creation breed phase pressure mercilessly onto the endless swamp dimensional life form tide. Under the slaughter butterfly's pressure, the swamp dimensional life form tide was like harvested wheat in a wheat field that fell to the ground uniformly. Under the creation breed phase pressure, the dimensional lifeforms in the swamp dimensional life form tide were so frightened that they couldn't even think of resisting. This included the 4 Class 4 swamp crocodiles. The 4 Class 4 swamp crocodiles were shivering as they curled up their tails and pointed their mouths full of sharp teeth on the ground. This action was the signal for dimensional lifeforms like the swamp crocodiles to submit. However, the 6-meter-long Class 4 Medusa giant lizard didn't immediately submit to the slaughter butterfly's creation breed aura. Despite still falling to the ground, it struggled to let out an unwilling hiss. The Medusa giant lizard was an existence that guarded the Medusa demonis in the swamp dimensional rift and had extremely strong growth potential. Medusa lizards could rely on devouring a large number of dimensional creatures of the same level to advance. Furthermore, by devouring their own kind, they would perfect their genetic model and evolve towards a higher level of bloodline. It was rumored that a Class 9 Medusa giant lizard, which was equivalent to a suzerain/myth 3 Fae, had been found in the Class 5 swamp dimensional rift. At that time, after the Class 9 Medusa giant lizard had been killed, it had been stored in the Wind Mist City Fae Observer Guild. Many Class 5 Fae observers dissected the Class 9 Medusa monitor lizard and discovered that the Law Origin crystal in its body was mutating. The shadow of the Medusa monitor lizard appeared inside the Law Origin crystal. The Medusa phantom in the Law Origin crystal seemed to have opened up a small world inside it. This discovery proved that the Medusa monitor lizard had the potential to become a Class 10 dimensional life form that was comparable to a creation breed Fae. As a result, many veteran powers and peak powers began to raise Medusa lizards, using special methods to make the Medusa lizards submit to them. As the Medusa lizard needed to devour swamp dimensional creatures of the same level to advance, it needed cannibalism to evolve its bloodline. Furthermore, the probability of the swamp dimensional rift opening up was very small. After nurturing the Medusa giant lizard to Tier 5, it would be extremely difficult for it to continue to evolve. He would need to obtain a large amount of fresh meat from the Class 3 swamp dimensional rift. Although the Medusa monitor looked like a scavenger, it was very picky when it came to eating. It did not eat dead dimensional lifeforms at all. This nature caused the higher the grade of the Medusa monitor lizard, the higher the cost of nurturing it. After all, not everyone could go to the swamp dimensional rift to catch fresh swamp dimensional lifeforms at any time to raise the Medusa monitor lizard. Due to various reasons, the popularity of nurturing the Medusa monitor lizard began to slowly decline. The Medusa monitor lizard was even once rated as the most fraudulent dimensional life form. However, to Lin Yuan, the Medusa monitor lizard had a different meaning. The Klein hub in his Spirit Lock spatial zone could directly connect to the swamp world. If he wanted to nurture the Medusa monitor lizard, he just needed to let it forage freely in the swamp world. After using a special method to make the Medusa giant lizard submit, he could let it roam freely. Therefore, after seeing this Medusa monitor lizard, Lin Yuan decided to let the killer butterfly keep it. At that moment, the spirit chi professionals in Millstone Town, who had not lost consciousness after being attacked by the beetle's energy rays, looked at the swamp-dimensional life-form tide that had abruptly stopped and swallowed their saliva. When they sensed the terrifying pressure that was not targeted at them, they could not help but raise their heads and look toward the sky. Everyone saw a huge milky blue butterfly with a purple halo flapping its wings and flying high in the sky. On the butterfly's back was a sunny youth who was frowning and looking at the swamp-dimensional life-form tide. At that moment, everyone, including Zhao Su, could not help but have a phrase flash in their minds. A celestial had descended. At the moment of life and death, a young celestial had descended by their side on a butterfly. Suddenly, everyone saw the milky blue butterfly flap its wings and release thousands of palm-sized butterfly shadows. These butterfly phantoms carried an irresistible force as they shuttled through the swamp's dimensional creatures. In the blink of an eye, apart from the 4 Class 4 swamp crocodiles and the Medusa monitor lizard, the other boundless swamp-dimensional lifeforms were all dead or injured. Even the beetles, which were the largest in number, were penetrated by the palm-sized butterfly shadows from the center, and none survived. The slaughter sky butterfly guessed that Lin Yuan had left the Medusa monitor lizard behind because he wanted to nurture it. Therefore, he had left the 4 swamp crocodiles, which were of the same grade as the Medusa monitor lizard. Presumably, he wanted to use these swamp crocodiles as materials for the Medusa monitor lizard's evolution. The instantaneous redemption was simply too dreamy. After the beautiful butterfly shadows that filled the sky, it was the end of the swamp-dimensional life-form tide. Under Millstone Town's stone walls, all the spirit chi professionals who could move raised their hands high and forgot their pain. They waved their hands to express their gratitude to the young celestial. What else was there to rejoice about being saved from certain death? After dealing with the Class 2 swamp-dimensional life-form tide, the slaughter sky butterfly landed on Lin Yuan's body. Then, it turned into the size of a fingernail and landed on Lin Yuan's lapel. The slaughter sky butterfly's milky blue butterfly wings matched with Lin Yuan's blue and white spirit chi clothes, making it impossible for people to ignore the slaughter sky butterfly's existence. Without saying a word, Lin Yuan waved his hand, and a green light beam landed on Zhao Su's body from his palm. The moment this green light beam landed on Zhao Su's body, Zhao Su realized that the scars caused by the beetle's energy beams had already recovered. However, what made Zhao Su a little sad was that when the beetle's energy beams had attacked him, 4 of the beetle's energy beams had coincidentally hit his index finger, causing his index finger's knuckles to explode and distort. Chapter 926. Although his index finger was still attached to some flesh, it was no different from being cut off. Zhao Su, who was a spirit guard, knew that even a king-class healer would not be able to heal such an injury. However, when Zhao Su realized that the burned scars on his body had disappeared, he suddenly realized that his broken index finger could move freely. It was as though his broken finger had just been an illusion. After Zhao Su's injuries healed, the green light in Lin Yuan's hand passed through Zhao Su's body and split into dozens of green ribbons. Dozens of green ribbons shuttled through the bodies of all the spirit chi professionals on the battlefield and weaved into a green net that could take away pain. Even Lu Lang, who was about to lose his will, opened his eyes in the green net. Lu Lang opened his eyes and subconsciously sat up. In a daze, he saw Lin Yuan's figure and chin. Lu Lang subconsciously shouted, "Black." Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan's expression froze and thought to himself, "I'm not wearing a mask this time. How can I be recognized?" When Lin Yuan looked in the direction of the voice, he realized that it was really a coincidence. Wasn't this young man who had called him Black the healing-type spirit chi professional who had fought alongside him against the insect tide in Millstone Town? It seemed that this healing-type spirit chi professional, Lu Lang, had made considerable progress during this period. The bronze-spitting turtledove had evolved into a saliva river turtledove after reaching silver. Just as Lin Yuan was wondering if he should respond to Lu Lang's black, Lu Lang stood up and grinned awkwardly. "Sorry, I got the wrong person. Your face isn't censored, so you shouldn't be my idol. But your chin is very similar to my idol's." Lu Lang had already recognized the youth in front of him. Wasn't this youth Lin Yuan, who had defeated Meng Su in the All-Star match? Since then, people had been comparing Lin Yuan to Black on Star Web. It was inevitable that Star Web netizens would compare Black and Lin Yuan. As the owner of Black's fan group, Lu Lang would naturally respond accordingly. Lu Lang was rather embarrassed. Lin Yuan had just saved his life, but he had resisted Lin Yuan's fans on Star Web more than once. This awkward feeling made Lu Lang feel as though his horse had disappeared. When Lin Yuan heard Lu Lang's words, he raised his brows. It seemed like he had thought for nothing just now. After Lin Yuan relied on the jasmine lily's bud of mountain jade to heal all the spirit chi professionals present, he said to everyone present, "A group of creation masters will be rushing over in a while. If your phase have damaged roots, you can look for the creation masters sent by ascending Dragon City Lordess, Long Xiao." After saying that, Lin Yuan found many holes in Zhao Su's clothes from the beetle's energy rays. Zhao Su was standing in front of the beetle when it launched its attack. In order to protect the spirit chi professional behind him, Zhao Su did not dodge the beetle's energy ray. He had even purposely blocked a lot of attacks for the spirit chi professionals behind him. Even though Zhao Su had recovered from his injuries, his clothes were still riddled with holes, and he looked rather pathetic. Lin Yuan had originally been 1.78 meters tall, but he had grown to 1.8 meters now, which was about the same height as Zhao Su. Every time Lin Yuan grew a little taller, she would modify the spirit chi clothing that he had previously made. Therefore, Zhao Su could wear Lin Yuan's clothes. Lin Yuan took out a set of black spirit chi clothing from the diamond face storage box and handed it to Zhao Su. "Change your clothes." Zhao Su was just about to refuse, but a gust of wind blew past him and made him feel a little cold under his legs. Zhao Su lowered his head and quickly looked up. He thanked Lin Yuan with a blushing face and took the clothes that Lin Yuan handed over. Lin Yuan had a very good impression of Zhao Su. Not every spirit guard was like Zhao Su, who could return after reporting to the spirit guards about the dimensional rift and use their lives as a rock to protect it. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the spirit chi professionals present quickly expressed their gratitude to Lin Yuan. However, Lu Lang's eyes were wide open as he looked at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's voice was simply too similar to the voice in Lu Lang's memory. Lu Lang couldn't help but make a ridiculous guess in his heart. Could Lin Yuan and Black be the same person? Could Lin Yuan be Black without the mask? Or could Black be Lin Yuan with the mask? However, as soon as this thought appeared, Lu Lang subconsciously suppressed it. If that was really the case, wouldn't it be the same as using the left hand to hit the right hand if he led Black's fans to counterattack Lin Yuan's fans? Lu Lang would never admit to such a situation. After resolving Millstone Town's predicament, Lin Yuan was ready to head to the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift not far away. Lin Yuan first let the slaughter butterfly withdraw its aura and removed its control over the 4 Class 4 swamp crocodiles and the Medusa giant lizard. After the Medusa giant lizard broke away from the slaughter butterfly's aura, it was very afraid of the slaughter butterfly and did not dare to go forward. However, when it saw the 4 Class 4 swamp crocodile struggling to get up and ready to continue charging forward, the Medusa giant lizard immediately raised its claws. It used its sharp claws, sharp teeth, and massive body to brutally kill the 4 Class 4 swamp crocodiles and devour them. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan nodded. From the Medusa giant lizard's fearful expression, it could be seen that the Class 4 Medusa giant lizard's intelligence was much higher than the Class 4 swamp crocodiles. At the same time, Lin Yuan was rather satisfied with the Medusa giant lizard's strength and cruelty. Lin Yuan was going to bring the Medusa giant lizard to the swamp dimensional world to rear it. If it was not strong and cruel enough, the Medusa giant lizard would probably be killed by the other swamp dimensional lifeforms in the swamp world. Lin Yuan took out a large iron cage made of platinum strong steel from the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. He then let the slaughter butterfly force the Medusa giant lizard to crawl in. After the Medusa giant lizard crawled in, Lin Yuan locked the large iron cage door. He then stored the Medusa giant lizard in the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box that contained a large number of dimensional lifeforms' bloodlines. Lin Yuan had used the iron cage to lock the Medusa giant lizard up because he was afraid that it would cause damage in the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. Such a transportation method of loading iron cages was rather common when transporting some fays that were more aggressive. After handling the Medusa giant lizard perfectly, Lin Yuan continued to ride on the slaughter butterfly and rush toward the Class 2 swamp dimensional rift while everyone was sending him off. Even if Lu Lang forcibly suppressed the speculation in his heart, he still felt that it was very likely to be true. This was because Lin Yuan had used the same healing ability as Black. This meant that Lin Yuan was also a healing-type spirit chi professional like Black. The second was even more terrifying. End of this chapter. Chapter 927. Thinking of this, Lu Lang could not help but feel embarrassed. His idol, Black, did not seem to be a proper spirit chi professional. When it fought, it was like a Medusa giant lizard that had just eaten a swamp crocodile. Lu Lang had once received Black's treatment. Although it wasn't as comfortable as when Black had treated him, which made him want to cry out, it was much stronger. However, how could two young geniuses who were healing-type spirit chi professionals appear so easily in this world? Recalling the butterfly species Fei that Lin Yuan had just ridden, Wanderer turned to ask Zhao Su, who was standing beside him. Big brother Zhao, what grade is the butterfly Fei that Lin Yuan was riding? He actually used his aura to stop the Class 2 swamp dimensional creature tide. Could it be a myth breed Fei? Zhao Su rubbed his nose and said softly. Didn't you see that the Medusa giant lizard was also forced to stop by the butterfly Fei's aura? This isn't as simple as stopping the Class 2 swamp dimensional creature tide. We met a real benefactor today. If I'm not wrong, that butterfly should be above the mythical stage. When Lu Lang heard the words, mythological, he felt his head go dizzy. Lu Lang had only heard of myth breed Feis and had never seen them before, let alone existences above myth. This butterfly Fei that was above the mythical stage made Lu Lang suppress his guesses. If Black was Lin Yuan, he would have summoned this butterfly Fei above the myth stage in Millstone Town. There was no need to expend any effort to bloom that beautiful sea of flowers. Lin Yuan didn't know what Lu Lang was thinking, but he had already entered the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift's entrance and entered the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional World. After entering the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift, the butchering sky butterfly immediately started a massacre. Waves of milky blue butterfly shadows reaped all the living beings in the Class 2 Swamp World and led Lin Yuan to search for the location of the Dimensional Hub. He had never entered the Swamp Dimensional Rift before. After entering it, he found that its environment was similar to the Radiance Federation's wetland environment in the main world. In the vicinity of Redbud City's Xia region, there were wetlands of all sizes. The swamp in the Swamp Dimensional Rift was also different from what Lin Yuan had imagined. He had always thought that the Swamp Dimensional Rift would be filled with all sorts of damp and decaying odors. A large number of swamp dimensional creatures died and rotted in the swamp, attracting many scavenging insects. However, from the looks of it, apart from the Swamp Dimensional Rift somewhat turbid swamp, the rest of the places could be described as clean. Standing on the slaughter sky butterfly's back, Lin Yuan found all kinds of large, carrion-eating mushrooms everywhere in the Swamp Dimensional Rift. The lifeforms formed by these bacterial colonies were the most effective decomposers of dead individuals. With these mushrooms, as long as a dimensional life form died in the swamp dimensional rift and wasn't eaten by other lifeforms within a day, they would die. His body would be covered with mushrooms and decomposed by the mushrooms. This was probably the reason why the environment inside the swamp dimensional rift was so clean. These carrion-eating mushrooms that could be seen everywhere made Lin Yuan rather happy. After all, the environment of the swamp world could be seen from the environment of the swamp world. A clean environment was always more comfortable to develop than a dirty one. However, this seemingly comfortable environment was actually a scene of life and death killings. Lin Yuan saw many carnivorous plants growing at the edge of the swamp using their fruits as meat bait to prey on smaller insects like beetles. Some powerful carnivorous plants would even use their vines to capture large dimensional lifeforms like the swamp crocodiles, treating them as their own food. In the swamp dimensional rift, carnivorous plants had always occupied the upper positions of the food chain. They used their plant bodies to suppress most of the swamp dimensional lifeforms. Lin Yuan felt that the carnivorous plants could develop so well in the swamp dimensional rift because of the environment and the rich swamp soil in it. On the slaughter sky butterfly's back, Lin Yuan found a few areas where a large number of swamp crocodiles were squeezed together. After Lin Yuan ordered the slaughter sky butterfly to kill the swamp crocodiles, he plunged into the swamp. He dived to the bottom of the swamp, which was nearly 10 meters deep, and started to dig. Lin Yuan soon dug out a piece of dark green jelly-like soil. This soil was the swamp soil, a specialty of the swamp dimensional rift. It was very easy to search for swamp soil in the swamp dimensional rift. Swamp soil would usually be found in places where swamp crocodiles gathered in large numbers. However, if he wanted to dig up the mud under the swamp, he would need to be strong enough to get rid of the swamp crocodiles. In the entire Class 2 swamp dimensional rift, Lin Yuan had only collected 2 pieces of mid-grade swamp soil. One of them was the green ink soil, and the other was the sand habitat soil. The green ink soil was suitable to be placed in the lotus pond to nurture all kinds of aquatic plant phase. It could increase their growth speed and development state. Sandy soil was suitable for cultivating desert plants in arid environments. Between these 2 types of mid-grade swamp soil, the green ink soil was more valuable. This swamp soil was also the main material that he would collect and developing the swamp world in the future. Soon, he found the location of the dimensional hub under the slaughter sky butterfly's lead. When he arrived at the dimensional hub, he did not immediately take out the 2 source-type items. Instead, he asked Morbius through his spiritual energy. Morbius, I've found the dimensional hub that connects to the swamp world. What should I do next? Morbius said. Lin Yuan, since you found the dimensional hub, leave the rest to me. Just as Morbius finished speaking, a copper-colored ray of light poured out from the Morbius band. Finally, the copper-colored light materialized into the Klein hub in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. The Klein hub was sandwiched between the dimensional hub that led to the swamp world and embedded the hub that led to the swamp world inside the Klein hub. The dimensional hub, which could not be moved by anyone in the dimensional rift, disappeared into the swamp dimensional rift. Just as Lin Yuan bent over to pick up the 2 source-type items on the ground, the Class 2 swamp dimensional rift spat them out as though it had eaten black garlic. At that moment, Morbius' voice echoed in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan, the Klein hub is now bound to the swamp world. You can now go to the swamp world through the Spirit Lock spatial zone at any time. After being spat out of the Class 2 swamp dimensional rift, Lin Yuan was about to enter the Spirit Lock spatial zone to investigate when he noticed Ascending Dragon City's city lordess, Long Xiao, standing nearby. There were no Ascending Dragon guards or spirit guards guarding Long Xiao. This meant that Long Xiao knew his schedule and was waiting for him here. At that moment, Long Xiao walked over and extended his right hand toward Lin Yuan. While Lin Yuan was puzzled, he saw that Long Xiao was holding the 2 badges that he had thrown over earlier. Lin Yuan hurriedly took the 2 crests from Long Xiao's hand in embarrassment and said, "Thank you. City Lord, this junior was careless. I forgot to take these 2 badges when I left. I'll have to trouble the City Lord to deliver it to me. I'm truly sorry." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Long Xiao's expression froze, and he suddenly looked at Lin Yuan with something more than before. One of these badges represented status, while the other represented strength and glory. The young man in front of him had already disregarded his own identity and honor when he was protecting the city. What kind of character, breadth of mind and zeal was this? There was no need to worry that such a young man's body would not be able to light up the heavens. With such a young man around, Huiyao would not have to worry about not being able to stand tall for ages. Chapter 3, Sob, Sob, Sob. Everyone felt that it would be better if the world in this book was bigger. It would be fine as long as it was now. End of this chapter. Chapter 928. When Long Xiao heard Lin Yuan address him as Lord and Junior, he knew that Lin Yuan was not concealing his identity as the Moon Empress disciple. Lin Yuan's words reflected sufficient respect for him. However, Long Xiao felt his liver tremble when he accepted such respect. Long Xiao was the city lord of Ascending Dragon City and came from the Coiling Dragon Valley. He was a core branch member that had the same status as the direct descendants. After seeing the Radiant Medal and the Class 2 Creation Master crest engraved with the Moon Totem that Lin Yuan had thrown over, Long Xiao personally dispatched a group of low-class Creation Masters according to Lin Yuan's instructions. He then contacted his cousin, the Coiling Dragon Valley's current patriarch, Long Tu, and told him about Lin Yuan's situation. He did not expect Lin Yuan to have a close relationship with his cousin, Long Tao, and to be on good terms with the Coiling Dragon Valley. Therefore, Long Xiao had decided to personally make a trip to deliver the Radiant Light Medal and the Class 2 Creation Master Medal with the Moon Totem. Otherwise, even if Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple, Long Xiao, as the city lord of Ascending Dragon City, did not have to make this trip during this special period. Now, Lin Yuan addressed himself as a junior in front of him and treated him as a junior. However, Long Xiao did not dare to be careless when addressing Lin Yuan. "Lord, a total of 5 Creation Masters have come to Millstone Town this time. There are 2 Class 2 Creation Masters and 2 Class 3 Creation Masters. These 5 Creation Masters will be stationed in Millstone Town for a few days. In about 2 to 3 days, this low-class Creation Master team will be able to heal all the Fays with damaged roots in Millstone Town. I heard from the Millstone Town's Guild Alliance branch's old president that you left behind a Medusa monitor. If you wish to nurture the swamp dimensional life form, the Medusa monitor, you will definitely need the Medusa snake demon's heart, blood and eyes." After saying that, Long Xiao handed a diamond Fey storage box to Lin Yuan. Seeing that Lin Yuan had no intention to take it, Long Xiao spoke again. "If you did not rush to Millstone Town in advance, the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift's life-form tide would have completely destroyed Millstone Town. The women, children, and ordinary people in Millstone Town Survivor Fortress would not have a chance to survive. As the city lord of Ascending Dragon City, this is my personal thanks to you for protecting Millstone Town. Furthermore, Ascending Dragon City is one of the top cities in the Swamp Dimensional Rift. There are plenty of spiritual ingredients disassembled from the Swamp Dimensional lifeforms in Ascending Dragon City's treasury. My lord, you don't have to be so polite." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan reached out to take the diamond face storage box that Long Xiao handed to him. It would even take the initiative to kill Medusa giant lizards to protect their master's safety. This nature made it so that once the Medusa giant lizard recognized a master, it would not be attracted by other Medusa giant lizards and betray them. "Thank you, City Lord. It just so happens that I don't have to buy the Medusa's eyeball and heart's blood on Star Web anymore. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Long Shao replied with a smile. If you need the resources produced in the swamp dimensional rift in the future, just let me know. Ascending Dragon City has accumulated a lot of these resources. Lin Yuan shook his head. The Klein hub in Morbius Spirit Lock Spatial Zone was directly connected to the swamp world. The swamp world had resources that the swamp dimensional rift simply could not compare to. Therefore, Lin Yuan would probably become the person in the Radiance Federation who had the least lack of resources from the swamp dimensional rift in the future. Upon seeing Lin Yuan shake his head, Long Shao did not mind. As the Moon Empress disciple, Lin Yuan could have anything he wanted. Naturally, he would not lack resources produced in the swamp dimensional rift. However, Long Shao had another purpose for saying this. As Ascending Dragon City Lord, the Ascending Dragon Guards could be said to be his direct troops. During the few months when the dimensional rift had been active, the Ascending Dragon Guards had suffered many casualties. They urgently needed a large number of high-quality bronze phase to be poured into the Ascending Dragon Guards to restore the scale before the dimensional rift had been active. During the call, Long Shao had heard from his cousin, Long Tu, that Lin Yuan had been collecting Law Origin crystals. The number of Law Origin crystals hoarded in Ascending Dragon City was indeed not small, dozens of times more than the accumulation in the Coiling Dragon Valley. It would be great if he could use these useless Law Origin crystals to exchange for some high-quality bronze phase. The first was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 929. Long Shao said to Lin Yuan, "My lord, I heard that you need Law Origin crystals." "My lord, I heard that you need Law Origin crystals. I wonder if my Ascending Dragon City can use Law Origin crystals to exchange for a batch of high-quality bronze phase?" Long Shao was not bashful when he spoke. He just wanted to make a deal with Lin Yuan. Naturally, he had to pay for a deal. If he could not reach a deal with Lin Yuan, he could think of other ways. However, other ways might not be able to obtain a batch of high-quality bronze phase in a short time. This would lead to more casualties among the Ascending Dragon Guards during the closing phase of the dimensional rift. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. His speed of enhancing bronze/epic phase was already very fast. Now that the spirit chi concentration in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone had increased by 10 times, his speed of enhancing phase had also increased. Therefore, Lin Yuan could easily complete a deal like Long Zhao's. When he had previously traded with the Indigo Azure Guard captain through Duanhe, Lin Yuan had felt that providing high-quality bronze phase for these big city guards was a good way to collect Law Origin crystals. However, Lin Yuan had not thought of how to open up this channel. Now that Ascending Dragon City Lord Long Shao had taken the initiative to propose it, Lin Yuan naturally had no reason to refuse. Lin Yuan's method of collecting Law Origin crystals in the Coiling Dragon Valley and the Dawn Cloud Avian niche through the Golden Lotus Brocade could not be applied to the various big cities. Compared to the Golden Lotus Brocade, the various big cities that did not have high-grade creation masters preferred high-quality bronze phase that could be contracted directly. If Lin Yuan could reach an agreement with Long Shao, he could do two things at the same time. He could collect Law Origin crystals from various major factions and big cities at the same time. Seeing that Lin Yuan had not said anything, Long Shao thought that this deal might have fallen through. Before Long Shao could change the topic, Lin Yuan said, "I might as well tell the city lord the address now. I might as well tell the city lord the address now. If the city lord wants to enhance phase, just mail them to me through Ostrich Logistics. I will turn all the mailed phase into bronze/epic phase and mail them back to you through Ostrich Logistics. That way, you can choose whatever phase you need to nurture. If possible, I hope to maintain a long-term cooperation with the city lord, and not this kind of one-time transaction." Long Shao was overjoyed. Equipping the Ascending Dragon Guards with phase had always been a difficult problem for him as the city lord. Ascending Dragon City was one of the 36 major cities, and Ascending Dragon City's lord, Long Xiao, was managed by His Majesty Cicada Cry. Every year, His Majesty Cicada Cry would provide Ascending Dragon City with a large amount of resources. However, after deducting the Ascending Dragon City's construction and various other expenses, the resources left for the Ascending Dragon Guards to equip phase were already very limited. These resources were only enough to equip the Ascending Dragon Guards with Bronze/Flawless phase. However, a Bronze/Flawless phase was clearly unable to meet Long Xiao's expectations. Long Xiao was born in the Coiling Dragon Valley, but now that he had ascended to the position of the Ascending Dragon City Lord, he couldn't just take resources from the Coiling Dragon Valley to satisfy the Ascending Dragon Guard's spiritual needs. If Long Xiao were to cooperate with the Coiled Dragon Valley according to the market price, he would not be able to afford the high price of 40 million radiance dollars per Bronze/Epic Fei. Now, Lin Yuan's words had completely solved one of Long Xiao's problems. In Long Xiao's opinion, exchanging useless Law Origin crystals for Bronze/Epic phase was profitable no matter how he looked at it. Since it's a long-term cooperation, I have to show my sincerity. Each ordinary Bronze/Epic Fei costs 3 Law Origin crystals. If you enhance the White Speed Hunting Dragon to Bronze/Epic, I can give you 4 Law Origin crystals. If I'm lucky enough to let the White Speed Hunting Dragon grow a dragon crown at Bronze, I can pay 10 Law Origin crystals for each Bronze/Epic White Speed Hunting Dragon that grows a dragon crown. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan extended his hand without hesitation and said to Long Xiao, "City Lord, it's a deal." Upon seeing this, Long Xiao also extended his hand and patted Lin Yuan's raised palm. "It's a deal." It could be said that the price offered by Ascending Dragon City Lord Long Xiao was almost the same as the price offered by the Indigo Azure Guard captain. Ordinary Bronze/Epic phase were priced at 3 Law Origin crystals. However, for the White Speed Hunting Dragon, which was a standard Fei of Ascending Dragon City, Long Xiao offered an additional Law Origin crystal. If he could induce the White Speed Hunting Dragon to grow a dragon crown at Bronze, he could also obtain a total of 10 Law Origin crystals. That was 3 times the price of nurturing an ordinary Bronze/Epic Fei. The White Speed Hunting Dragon was a standard Fei of Ascending Dragon City and Indigo Azure City's healing-type Fei, the Hot Spring Slug. The White Speed Hunting Dragon was a power offense-type Fei that excelled in speed and burst. In addition, the White Speed Hunting Dragon also had the excellent bloodline of the Velociraptor, a dinosaur species Fei. It was considered a dinosaur species Fei with great talent. It should be because the White Speed Hunting Dragon that was not contracted by a Spirit Chi professional was too fierce, which was why Long Tu was willing to pay an additional Law Origin crystal. If the White Speed Hunting Dragon wanted to grow a crown, it needed to stimulate the Velociraptor bloodline in its body at Bronze. This might be a little difficult for other creation masters, but it was very simple for Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan only needed to use some silver dinosaur phase essence blood and pure spirit chi to successfully stimulate the White Speed Hunting Dragon's Velociraptor bloodline in the dinosaur species during the process of raising its quality. Therefore, if Long Xiao really sent the White Speed Hunting Dragon over, Lin Yuan planned to let each White Speed Hunting Dragon grow a crown before sending it back to Long Xiao. This way, Lin Yuan could obtain an additional 6 Law Origin crystals for each White Speed Hunting Dragon. Since Long Xiao was willing to offer a high price for a White Speed Hunting Dragon that grew a crown, it meant that he was very eager to get a White Speed Hunting Dragon with a crown. Since he had decided to let each White Speed Hunting Dragon grow a crown, Lin Yuan simply said, "Okay, I'll try my best to let each White Speed Hunting Dragon grow a crown. When I'm nurturing the White Speed Hunting Dragon, I'll strive to make every White Speed Hunting Dragon satisfy the City Lord." After finalizing the cooperation with Long Xiao, Lin Yuan declined Long Xiao's invitation to have dinner with him. After looking at the time, Lin Yuan did not choose to enter the swamp dimensional world through Klein Hub according to his original plan. Instead, he used the ethereal jellyfish's ability node to teleport back to the mansion. After all, Lin Yuan had promised Lu Jia over the phone that he would return to the mansion for dinner. If he returned late because of exploring the swamp world, his partners waiting for him in the mansion would be worried. When Lin Yuan returned to the mansion and entered the main residence, he found Lu Jia serving plates of cooked delicacies to the table. Wen Yu, Endless Summer, and Chu Ci were playing with the Fey cards together. At that moment, Chu Ci and Endless Summer's faces were covered with paper slips, while Wen Yu's face was empty. Chapter 930. It was clear that Chu Ci and Endless Summer had not won a single round in the Fey tablet. Upon seeing Lin Yuan return, Chu Ci hurriedly threw down the Fey card in her hand to avoid the tragedy of having another note stuck on her face. "Brother, Master is going to bring me to the dimensional rift to train tomorrow. We might be training until school reopens." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan reached out to rub the hair on the top of her head and took off the note on her face. "If you're training, be careful. Don't force yourself. If you encounter any problems, just tell Aunt Tsang. I have transferred quite a lot of money to your star web card. Don't be stingy when you return to the Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy after the training. I'll prepare the daily spirit materials for the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull, Yellow Jade Golden Butterfly, and Burning Sunflower Gemini for you tonight. Be careful not to get hurt when you fight with the seniors during the practical class." Chu Ci smiled sweetly when she heard Lin Yuan's instructions, but she said, "Don't worry. Yuan, don't worry." In her memory, every time she left Lin Yuan's side to go to school, he would constantly exhort her. Then, he meticulously prepared the things he needed during this period of school. It had been like this when Lin Yuan's shoulders were thin and weak, and it was still the same now that his shoulders were broad and thick. She felt that she would always be a child who would never grow up. A rebellious child who had never had to worry about food and clothing might find this feeling very annoying, but she cherished every word of Lin Yuan's nagging. Every word of Lin Yuan's nagging contained his love for her. When Wen Yu heard Lin Yuan's nagging, a warm smile appeared on her face. "I'm going to the kitchen to help Brother Lu. Tonight is to celebrate Brother Lu and young master winning the martial arts competition and the civil and military competition respectively. Secondly, it's also for Chu Ci's training outside. Big Brother Lu made a total of 20 dishes. In a while, Pinru, Zhang Xiaobai, Master Hong Shen, Listen, Zhou Luo, Duan He, and the others will also come." After saying that, Wen Yu hurried to help Lu Jia serve the dishes. Lin Yuan blinked when he heard Wen Yu's words. She called Zhang Xiaobai by his full name, but she only called Lu Pinru by her first name. Since when did Lu Pinru and Wen Yu have such a good relationship? Was it because he had been in seclusion all this time that he hadn't noticed? Endless Summer also put down the cards in her hand and walked to Lin Yuan's side. "Lin Yuan, I have already formed a contract with the sacred source life form you gave me." After saying that, Endless Summer circulated its soul spirit power, and Lin Yuan saw a tender grass burrowing out of Endless Summer's palm. The moment the tender grass burrowed into Endless Summer's palm, Lin Yuan felt the princess in his mind throb. Lin Yuan could also feel the unique aura of a sacred source life form. The aura unique to sacred source life forms could only be sensed by those who had contracted the sacred source life form. Wen Yu and Lu Jia, who were busy serving dishes in the kitchen, also looked in Endless Summer's direction. Lin Yuan looked at Endless Summer's palm and realized that the sacred source life form, which looked like a blade of grass, gave off the feeling of a solitary orchid grows in a secluded garden, and all the weeds perish together. Upon closer inspection, there was a special charm to it. This kind of charm was like that of a gentleman, unbending and unbending. The grass and leaves were strong and full of vitality. It was as if a blade of grass was carrying the weight of mountains and rivers. Endless Summer said to Lin Yuan while fiddling with the grass in her palm. Lin Yuan, my sacred source life form is called Arakawa Orchid. Arakawa Orchid should be a support-type sacred source life form. If Arakawa Orchid's function is developed, it will be enough for me to have an almost endless life force and recovery ability. But this Arakawa Aranya needs too much space to develop, and it will cause irreversible damage to the environment. Endless Summer let out a soft sigh as she spoke. Too difficult. Although Endless Summer liked the Arakawa Orchid sprout very much, it felt that it had let Lin Yuan down after seeing its abilities. The poor development of the Arakawa Orchid sprout made it difficult for Endless Summer to use the sacred source life form to help Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, who was listening to Endless Summer's sigh, had already used Morbius True Data to check on the Arakawa Orchid in Endless Summer's hands. Sacred Source Name, Arakawa Rana, Sacred Source Species, Origin Family / Sacred Source Species, Sacred Source Star Grade, 1 star, Sacred Source Type, Wood / Life Functions Frowny Face Twin Orchid Branches, the Arakawa Orchid sprout is suitable for growing on fertile land. The growing Arakawa Orchid sprout will grow underground roots that cover a large area. It will absorb the nutrients in the soil and convert them into vitality, which is stored in the body. It will bloom into orchids and bear orchids. After bearing orchids, the Arakawa Orchid sprout will grow new Arakawa Orchid sprout individuals from the accelerated roots. The Arakawa Orchid sprout will lock the energy in the soil within the range of its extended roots, allowing the nutrients in the soil covered by the roots to exceed quantity. The Arakawa Orchid sprout can replenish its stored vitality into the contractor's body at any time. 1. Orchid leaf state. The vitality in the orchid leaves has tenacious characteristics. Energy rich in tenacious characteristics can be injected into the contractor's body to increase the contractor's defense. 2. Orchid state. The orchid petals contain vitality extracted from the soil. The vitality in the petals can be injected into other lifeforms to speed up the recovery of the lifeform's injuries. 3. Orchid fruit state. Each orchid sprout will only produce one fruit. The orchid fruit will store the contractor's soul aura. When the contractor's soul is injured, the orchid fruit can use the stored soul aura to heal the contractor's injured soul. Lin Yuan did not know what to say when he looked at Endless Summer's sacred source life form, the Arakawa Orchid sprout. He finally understood why Endless Summer dared to say that having the Arakawa Orchid sprout was equivalent to having endless vitality. The Arakawa Orchid sprout's orchid leaf, orchid, and orchid fruit state not only allowed Endless Summer to have endless vitality, but it also increased its defense. It allowed Endless Summer to use the Arakawa Orchid sprout's orchid state to heal other lifeforms. It also allowed Endless Summer to not be afraid of injuries to the soul. It could be said that the Arakawa Orchid sprout allowed Endless Summer, a support-type creation breed Fae, to obtain healing abilities. The healing abilities allowed Endless Summer's value to increase by dozens of times. Healing-type Spirit Chi professionals were much rarer than combat-type Spirit Chi professionals. At the Emperor-class experts level, healing-type Spirit Chi professionals were already as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Let alone Emperor-class experts. Emperor-class healing-type Spirit Chi professionals had a transcendent status among Emperor-class experts. Even though their status was still far from that of a Class 5 creation master, it was still much higher than other Emperor-class experts. It could be said that the sacred source lifeform Arakawa Orchid sprout was already not a loss for Endless Summer to obtain healing abilities. Endless Summer, who was an Emperor-class healer, was now very difficult to kill with the massive vitality replenishment. Unless the accumulated vitality of the Arakawa Orchid sprout was exhausted. As for the Arakawa Orchid sprout that Endless Summer said was difficult to develop, it was simply because it was difficult to find a suitable place to grow in the origin world. If it was in the past, Lin Yuan would also be troubled by this place. However, Morbius' exclusive skill, Klein Hub, was directly connected to the swamp world. What place was more suitable than the swamp world's fertile soil for the Arakawa orchid sprout to grow? Chapter 931. Lin Yuan did not know if everything was fated or just a coincidence. Endless Summer had obtained the sacred source lifeform Arakawa orchid at the same time as Morbius had obtained the exclusive skill Klein Hub. He had also chosen to let the Klein Hub lead to the swamp world. According to the description of the true data, Arakawa orchid sprout would rob the soil of a large amount of nutrients. This plundering of the soil's nutrients was devastating to the phase that relied on the soil to survive. If Endless Summer planted Arakawa orchid in the depths of the Endless Forest, the Endless Forest could indeed support the growth of the sacred source life form, Arakawa orchid. But as Arakawa orchid sprout continued to absorb the nutrients in the soil, it grew more and more branches. The entire Endless Forest would become a barren wasteland due to the loss of nutrients in the soil. Such a situation would cause a massive death of various Fays in the depths of the Endless Forest. Avian Fays with the ability to move might be able to migrate to places where the nutrients in the soil had not been plundered by the Arakawa orchid sprout. However, plant species Fays were destined to die on the spot due to the loss of nutrients in the soil. If such a vicious problem really did occur, the spirit guards would have to deal with it. From a certain perspective, Endless Summer's sacred source life form, the Arakawa orchid sprout's growth method was similar to the sea burial lotus flower, which was still a carcinoma Fey. However, the sea burial lotus flower absorbed the spiritual energy in the seabed, while the Arakawa orchid sprout absorbed the nutrients in the soil. Therefore, the growth of a sacred source life form like Arakawa orchid in the origin world was too harmful to the environment. This was probably the main reason why Endless Summer sighed. Endless Summer, which had grown from an ordinary hydrangea flower step by step, understood how difficult it was for a low-grade plant Fey. Endless Summer would not allow those weak plant Fays to die in droves just to nurture its own sacred source lifeforms. Fortunately, there was the swamp world. The problem of cultivating the sacred source life form, Arakawa orchid, was easily solved. Lin Yuan said, "I have a place for you to plant Arakawa orchid sprout. At that place, Arakawa orchid sprout will quickly grow into twin orchid branches. In addition to nutrient-rich soil, are there any other things to pay attention to when cultivating Arakawa orchid sprout?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Endless Summer's face suddenly lit up. He did not expect that the problem that he had been vexing about ever since he had contracted Arakawa Lanya would be easily solved the moment he said it. Endless Summer might not know where the place that Lin Yuan was talking about was, but she knew that Lin Yuan would never say something that he was not confident of. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Endless Summer quickly explained the matter of nurturing the Arakawa orchid sprout. While Arakawa orchid sprout absorbs nutrients from the soil, it also absorbs a large amount of water, causing the soil to dry up and crack. That's why the Arakawa orchid sprout needs to be replenished with water. At the same time, the Arakawa orchid sprout is very fragile. As long as its roots are dug out of the soil or its stem is broken, it will quickly wither. That's why it takes a lot of effort to nurture it. Endless Summer had an awkward expression on her face as she spoke. It could be said that Arakawa orchid, the sacred source life form that she had contracted, was a true mistress. She needed someone to take care of her at all times. By the time Arakawa orchid grew to a certain size, who knew how much water it would need to be watered every day? Even if Endless Summer was a creation seed Fey, as long as she could not wholeheartedly take care of the Arakawa orchid sprout at all times. Once something happened, even if a normal Fey dug up the soil, it might have a huge impact on the sacred source life form. At the same time, the Arakawa orchid sprout was a plant that contained a huge amount of vitality and was extremely attractive to any life form. Any Fey that saw it would want to take a bite. When Lin Yuan heard Endless Summer's words, he was not worried but happy. He did not expect that the sacred source lifeform would actually absorb a large amount of water during its growth. When Lin Yuan was in the Class 2 Swamp Dimensional Rift, he had realized that although the rift was 40% land, 40% of the land in the swamp world was not as solid as the land in the main world. The land in the swamp world was not as solid as the land in the main world. The land in the swamp world was formed by a large amount of mud piled together over a long period of time. Therefore, when Lin Yuan stepped on the land in the swamp world, even though he only weighed about 65 kilograms, his entire foot would still be in the mud. Even so, his entire foot would still be stuck in the mud up to his calf. Lin Yuan had been thinking about how to make the land in the swamp world drier when he developed it. Even if it was not as dry as the land in the main world, it would not reach his calf when he stepped on it. Now, it seemed that planting the Arakawa orchid sprout in the swamp world had saved him a lot of trouble. In the beginning, the Arakawa orchid sprout would not grow many branches from its roots, so it was not enough to improve the soil environment in the swamp world. However, after a long period of accumulation, the Arakawa orchid sprout's ability to improve the soil moisture of the swamp world's land would be reflected. Moreover, the Arakawa orchid sprout's water requirement was continuous. This way, even if the other parts of the swamp world's water rushed to the Arakawa orchid sprout to absorb water, there would not be any problem. At the same time, it would permanently remove the Arakawa orchid sprout's thirst for water. Endless Summer's sacred source lifeform might just be a delicate orchid, but its ability was worthy of the name Arakawa orchid sprout. As for the Arakawa orchid sprout that Endless Summer mentioned, it was even easier for Lin Yuan. The creation breed slaughter butterfly could go to the swamp world through the Klein hub in the Spirit Lock spatial zone at any time. Lin Yuan could let the slaughter butterfly stay in the swamp world and watch over the Arakawa orchid sprout. On the other hand, he could open up a territory to establish a foundation in the swamp world. Your two problems can be easily solved at the place I mentioned. I'll take you there tomorrow morning. While Lin Yuan and Endless Summer were talking, the mother of Bloodbath came down from upstairs. After returning to the mansion, the mother of Bloodbath had been cultivating non-stop to improve its strength. When Lin Yuan saw the mother of Bloodbath, he threw the sacred source lifeform he had just obtained from the civil and martial arenas to the mother of Bloodbath and said, "Mother of Bloodbath, this is my reward for getting first place in the civil and martial arenas. Once you become a creation breed, you can directly contract this sacred source lifeform. When you become a creation breed, you'll be able to form a contract with this sacred source lifeform. Another batch of blood brew grapes grown by the Heaven and Earth Fey blood brew grapevine has matured, and there are many old vine leaves that naturally fall." Chapter 932. At this point, Lin Yuan paused slightly and continued. The speed at which the blood brew grapevine produces blood brew grapes should be able to meet your blood energy requirements. As for the law crystals you need after advancing to Myth 3, I will also prepare them for you during this period of time. The mother of Bloodbath caught the sacred source lifeform that Lin Yuan had tossed over with mixed feelings. The mother of Bloodbath remembered that Lin Yuan had asked about sacred source lifeforms on the way to Indigo Azure City. At that time, he only sighed. Even if it becomes a creation breed Fey, ordinary creation breed Feys are rarely qualified to obtain sacred source lifeforms. Creation breeds were the same as myth breeds from Realm 1 to Realm 3. There were detailed grades. However, the division of creation seeds was more detailed, from the creation lineage to the 8 lineages of creation. The classification of grades was also based on the number of Genesis Earth veins in the world of laws. The mother of Bloodbath had never heard of a wild Fey obtaining a sacred source lifeform before the Genesis 3 stages. Lin Yuan had given him a sacred source lifeform when he was still at Myth 2. The mother of Bloodbath, which had long desired sacred source lifeforms, knew very well how precious they were. Sacred source lifeforms could be traded for large amounts of resources in Lin Yuan's hands. Even if Lin Yuan had contracted a sacred source life form, an uncontracted sacred source life form would still be of great value in his hands. But now, Lin Yuan had casually handed over a sacred source life form that was of immense value to him, and his words were filled with plans for his future. It could be said that he was now paving a path toward becoming a creation breed. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath felt that Lin Yuan was not only able to make it feel at ease. It could also bring him an unparalleled sense of security. As a female spider, this was the first time the mother of Bloodbath had such a feeling. Just as the mother of Bloodbath was about to say something, Hu Quan and Master Hongshan walked in with Zhang Xiaobai, Tan Ran, Lu Pinru, and Xin Ing. At first glance, it looked like two old miners leading four young miners. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Hu Quan said excitedly, "Young master, we accidentally dug out a spring when we were excavating the underground space. When I first saw this spring, I thought there would be a problem with the underground excavation. I didn't expect this underground spring to be of the same origin as the hidden Wirm Lake spring. This way, if I want to nurture phase in the underground spatial zone, I won't need to draw water from the hidden Wirm Lake. At the same time, I can also use the pipes to direct the spring to the hidden Dragon Lake when I'm not collecting water. An additional spring can increase the circulation speed of the hidden Dragon Lake's water by several times. It's beneficial to both the angelfish of bliss and the sunshine monarch lotus living in the hidden Dragon Lake. The absolute freshness of the water coupled with the sea blue stone and sea veined stone embedded at the bottom of the lake washed over the rainbow fairy fish's clothes. It can cover the surface of the hidden Dragon Lake in a layer of seven-colored aurora all day long. Lin Yuan was pleasantly surprised to hear that. However, he did not spend much time on the underground space during this period. It was all thanks to Hu Quan. Master Hongshan led the spirit craftsmen of the Heavenly Craft Pavilion to work day and night. Uncle Hu, Master Hongshan has worked hard. When Master Hongshan heard Lin Yuan's words, he turned to look at Hu Quan and felt that Hu Quan really knew how to apply what he had learned. When Hu Quan had first dug out the spring, he had been afraid that it would affect the underground space's structure. He had come up with a solution based on the mineral content of the water flowing out of the spring, which was of the same origin as the spring in the hidden Dragon Lake. What Hu Quan had just said to Lin Yuan seemed to be what he had said to comfort Hu Quan. However, Hu Quan's spirit craftsmanship had been thoroughly experienced during this period of working with Master Hongshan. He was really strong. Although the underground space had only been excavated roughly, Hu Quan's carvings on the excavated stone walls made it look like a luxurious and noble underground palace. Zhang Xiaobai, Xin Ing, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru were really bored during this period. Therefore, after the four of them set up the Dome Guild Club, they took the initiative to look for Master Hongshan and Hu Quan, wanting to go to the underground space to help. Once they got busy, Tan Ran, who looked like a Shota, opened the door to a new world. He developed a strong interest in spirit craftsmen. When he had nothing to do, he would look for Hu Quan and some Class 3 spirit craftsmen under him for advice. This was a good thing in Lin Yuan's opinion. As long as one wanted to learn, it was never too late to pick up a skill. Lin Yuan took out the source-type Titan centipede that he had obtained from Gao Feng and handed it to Zhang Xiaobai, Tan Ran, Xin Ing, and Lu Pinru. I've already obtained the source-type life form, Titan centipede. During this period of time, don't go to the underground space to help. Let Master Hongshan help you nurture these 4 Titan Chi first. The willpower runes that the 4 of you have comprehended can be used together with the Titan Python's normal skill. When I meet the Barbarian Snake Club in the S tournament, I can use my strength to show them what a true barbarian snake is. When Zhang Xiaobai and the others heard that, their eyes lit up, and they clenched their fists tightly. Only by taking revenge with his own hands could he feel at ease. Otherwise, the humiliation of the past would become a dead knot in his heart. After saying that, Lin Yuan looked at Lu Pinru. Lu Pinru, you've been contracting a lustrous weaver silkworm with the exact same skill and exclusive skill. Now that your spiritual energy has mutated and greatly enhanced, I'll find a way to get a few more lustrous weaver silkworms with the exact same skill and exclusive skill for you to contract. It could be said that Lu Pinru's contracted lustrous weaver silkworms had always been a major feature of her. It could be considered a model of qualitative change in phase. If Lu Pinru relied on this contract method to grow, even if nothing could be seen now, in the future, she would definitely become a genius expert with the potential like Shirsu. Therefore, Lin Yuan felt that it was very necessary to invest in Lu Pinru. If it had been in the past when Lin Yuan did not have connections, he would have needed to continuously enhance the lustrous weaver silkworms to get Lu Pinru a lustrous weaver silkworm with the exact same skill and exclusive skill. After all, it was too difficult to buy a lustrous weaver silkworm with the exact same skill and exclusive skill as Lu Pinru's contracted lustrous weaver silkworm. Even Sequence 18 White Demon had searched for a long time and only happened to encounter one due to luck. However, if Lin Yuan wanted to get such a lustrous weaver silkworm for Lu Pinru, he no longer needed to rack his brains. The silver-haired old woman from the Brahma insect cage had his own phone number. Chapter 933. As an emperor-level powerhouse, the silver-haired old woman must have an important position in the Brahma insect cage, a top force. The silver-haired old woman had earnestly asked for his contact details, so she must have planned to contact him afterward. When the silver-haired old woman contacted him, he could tell her that he needed the lustrous weaver silkworm. The Brahma insect cage controlled the Radiance Federation's massive insect species Fey resources. It could be said that half of the insect species Feys on the market came from the Brahma insect cage. He could start from the inside of the Brahma insect cage and help Lu Pinru find a suitable lustrous weaver silkworm from the source. Upon hearing that, Lu Pinru nodded. If he could solve the problem of the lustrous weaver silkworm, he would be able to form a contract with an identical lustrous weaver silkworm. That way, his support effect in the team would be greatly enhanced, and he would be able to perform more reliably in the S tournament. In Lu Pinru's heart, the stronger she became, the more outstanding her performance was, and the more she could help Lin Yuan. Only then could it be considered the best repayment to Lin Yuan. Lu Pinru suddenly thought of her and Wen Yu's plan and said to Lin Yuan, "Lin Yuan, I want to be a reserve member of the Dome Guild Club and set up my own clothing brand, Home of Tastes. We specialize in producing and designing clothing suitable for male spirit chi professionals." At this time, Wen Yu happened to be walking out of the kitchen with a bowl of shredded coconut chicken soup. Hearing Lu Pinru's words, Wen Yu quickly put the coconut chicken soup on the table and said, "Lin Yuan, Pinru is also a weaver. Pinru's weaver rank is the same as mine. She's also at rank 3. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Lu Pinru with some surprise. The number of weavers in the Radiance Federation was much less than that of spirit craftsmen. Weavers produced spirit chi clothing, which was considered a fashion job. The money he earned far exceeded that of a class 3 spirit craftsman. After all, a spirit craftsman building a house or carving an object was far less attractive to spirit chi professionals than spirit chi clothing. Lin Yuan had deeply experienced the benefits of having a class 3 weaver by his side. In terms of the weaver rank, Wen Yu and Lu Pinru had become 3-star weavers at such a young age. He could be considered a super genius among the lifestyle class spirit chi occupations, the weavers. However, he was a little curious about Lu Pinru and Wen Yu's business direction. Why did they only produce and manufacture male spirit chi professionals' clothing? Logically speaking, female spirit chi professionals should have a higher demand for spirit chi clothing. For example, Lin Yuan didn't have much need for spirit chi clothing. It was fine as long as he had enough to wear. As for Endless Summer, every time she went to buy spirit chi clothing, it was as if she was sweeping up all the spirit chi clothing in the store. Just as Lin Yuan was having this question, Lu Pinru pushed up the glasses on her face and said very wisely, "That's right. Previously, when I carried the wardrobe out to train, every time I went to the mall, I felt that the clothes of male spirit chi professionals were too simple and restrictive. I plan to let the male spirit chi professionals dress more boldly and strive to let every male spirit chi professional visit the home of taste twice a year." As he listened to Lu Pinru's plan and bold words, Lin Yuan felt that he had many more small question marks. As a man, Lin Yuan did not feel the monotonous spirit chi clothing that he usually wore. He secretly guessed how they would make the male spirit chi professionals' attire bold. "I can't wear a dress, right? If I really wear a dress, I'm afraid the steel bars won't buy it." Of course, Lin Yuan wouldn't buy it either. Although he didn't know how Wen Yu and Lu Pinru's plan would be implemented, he still had to support it. Listen, Star Web sales are pretty good. Those items mixed with completely jade-textured powder are in short supply on Star Web. When the time comes, you can look for Listen and let him show the spirit chi clothing you designed in the Star Web live streaming room. At the same time, you can also hire more weavers to make spirit chi clothing according to your designs. While Lin Yuan was speaking, Listen, Zhou Luo, Duan He, and Purple Demon returned from outside. Duan He's first words were when he saw Lin Yuan. "Young master, I heard that something happened to the Miao family at the Nix conference. I think the Miao and Zheng families shouldn't have time to target our Sky City." Duan He knew Lin Yuan's identity and knew that he must have participated in the Nix conference. Therefore, Duan He was a little curious about what the Miao family had done at the Nix conference to be chased out of Night Dawn Palace. When Lin Yuan heard Duan He's words, he first nodded and then shook his head. During this time, the Miao family definitely wouldn't have time to find trouble with Sky City. What had happened at the Nix conference and the Golden Lotus brocade in the Coiling Dragon Valley were equivalent to a sharp sword stuck in the Miao family's head. These two sharp swords were enough to shake the Miao family's foundation, and they would definitely find ways to find a solution. In the end, this method would always come back to him. However, when he thought about how Zheng Kaiyuan had the courage to sit on the Miao family's representative seat at the Nix conference, one could imagine the extent to which Zheng Kaiyuan had become arrogant. Since Zheng Kaiyuan was so high, he would naturally become bolder. It was impossible for Zheng Kaiyuan, who had become bolder, not to make a move on his old rival, Sky City. Now that Endless Summer had become a creation breed, Lin Yuan also had the creation breed Slaughterer Butterfly as a trump card. It was time to get rid of the Zheng family permanently. It was also time for Sky City, which had always been hidden in the clouds, to show its majesty for the first time. Lu Jia placed the bowls and chopsticks on the table and said, "Let's eat. Everyone, have a taste of my cooking." While speaking, Lu Jia thought of Zhong Zhe, who had been praised by Gu Lang. This time, he had used all his skills to cook. After eating his meal, he would go to eat Zhong Zhe's meal. Then, he would be able to determine the winner in cooking with Zhong Zhe. With that thought, Lu Jia snorted softly. "When it comes to cooking, I, Lu Jia, will not lose." At that moment, everyone sitting around the table was eating Lu Jia's delicious food. Lin Yuan had always felt that Lu Jia's food was exceptionally delicious, but he did not know if it was because he was hungry. He always felt that Lu Jia's food was better than before. Lin Yuan looked at his companions sitting next to him eating and counted softly. 1, 2, 3. 13. There were a total of 13. Including himself, there were exactly 14. Although Lin Yuan had known Zhang Xiaobai and the others before and had become life-and-death friends in Millstone Town. However, they had not lived together. Now that Zhang Xiaobai and the others had integrated into the big family of Return from Faraway Mansion, it had unknowingly developed and grown stronger. Looking at his companions sitting around, Lin Yuan's heart softened. After the meal, Lin Yuan played Fey cards with everyone for a while, and the result was as Lin Yuan had expected. After 2 hours of playing Fey cards, except for Wen Yu, who still did not have a note on her face, everyone's faces were more or less stained with notes. In fact, in a strategic chess interactive game like Fey cards, one's talent for internal affairs could be seen by the number of notes on one's face. It was the first time that Zhang Xiaobai, Tan Ran, Xin Ying, and Lu Pinru played Fey cards with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan blinked when he saw that Tan Ran only had 2 notes on her face. He did not expect Tan Ran to be a genius who was good at internal affairs. At that moment, Chaime's shy and patient voice sounded in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan, the divine-shaped Bodhi fruit tastes so bitter. After Chaime ate it, the bitterness made its tongue numb. Chapter 934. Upon hearing Chaime's voice, Lin Yuan suddenly smacked his forehead and thought of something. Genius said that Chaime will be doing a Star Web live broadcast tonight. Suddenly, Lu Jie's phone rang. Lu Jie took the phone, and a look of pleasant surprise and seriousness immediately appeared on his face. After listening to the voice on the other end of the phone for a while, Lu Jie finally opened his mouth. "All right. Master. I'll be right there." After hanging up the phone, Lu Jie stood up and apologetically said to everyone, "I have something to do. What do you guys want to eat tomorrow? I'll buy the ingredients when I come back." When Lu Jie said "Master" on the phone just now, most of the people present were slightly stunned. Apart from Lin Yuan, the mother of Bloodbath, Endless Summer, Wen Yu, and a few others, there was no one else present. The others had never heard Lu Jie mention his master before. Everyone couldn't help but feel curious about Lu Jie's master. Whenever Lu Jie went out, he would ask everyone to order food to see if there was anything they wanted to eat. If there was something they didn't have at home, he would prepare the ingredients on the way back. At such a time, the mother of Bloodbath, who was a top foodie, would never stand on ceremony with Lu Jie. "Will you be back tomorrow morning?" When Lu Jie heard this, he seemed to have thought of something dangerous. His expression changed slightly, and a grim expression appeared on his face. However, in the blink of an eye, the stern expression on his face was concealed by Lu Jie. Lu Jie said after pondering for a while. "Looking at the time, I probably won't be able to make it back in the day, but I'll definitely be able to make it back in the afternoon no matter what the result is." The mother of Bloodbath looked at Lu Jie doubtfully for a moment before replying. "Why don't we eat seafood barbecue tonight?" As he spoke, the mother of Bloodbath felt that Lu Jie seemed to have something on his mind and was making a decision. It was like he had reached a fork in his life. However, the mother of Bloodbath knew Lu Jie's identity and who his master was. This matter concerned the chief guard of the spirit guards, so the mother of Bloodbath did not ask about it. However, a worried expression appeared on her face. At this moment, Lu Jie's expression had already returned to normal, and he nodded with a smile. "That's good. The weather isn't as cold as before. Tomorrow night, I'll prepare the ingredients and we'll have a seafood barbecue in the courtyard." Since Lu Jie had something to do and it was getting late, the 2-hour game officially ended. Lin Yuan followed Lu Jie to the door and asked, "Brother Lu, is there any danger in going to your master's place?" Lin Yuan had keenly noticed the grim look on Lu Jie's face. Lin Yuan knew that Lu Jie had always been a steady person, so even Lu Jie had a grim expression on his face. In that case, this matter was definitely not small. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan was asking him a question, Lu Jie answered without hiding anything. "When Master is inspecting the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift, he has also obtained an insect-type carcinoma Fey that is extremely important to me from the Rhine life form. We will head over tonight to let the Insect Queen control this insect-type carcinoma Fey." This carcinoma Fey can enhance any insect-type carcinoma Fey and form a link with any other insect-type carcinoma Fey. If I can let the insect queen control this insect species carcinoma Fey, my current strength will at least double. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan knew how important this insect species carcinoma Fey was to Lu Jie. At that moment, Lu Jie heard Lin Yuan speak again. However, this insect-type carcinoma Fey is extremely harmful to the soul. While the insect queen uses the spiritual toxin to control it, it will constantly be affected by this insect-type carcinoma Fey. In order to prevent the insect queen's soul from being injured and affecting its control over this insect-type carcinoma Fey, I have to let this insect-type carcinoma Fey attack my soul first. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan could not help but interrupt. The soul is extremely important. After all, this is a carcinoma Fey. Even if its grade is low, it can still be extremely harmful. If your soul can't withstand it, you have to give up halfway. Lu Jie revealed a difficult expression when he heard Lin Yuan's instructions. Only the Rhine Medical Center has one insect-type carcinoma Fey. Even the land of spirit suppression has never taken it in. Once the insect queen's spiritual toxin control is interrupted, it will definitely cause the insect-type carcinoma Fey's death. I will also lose this rare opportunity to become stronger. Therefore, I'm afraid that I will have to suffer tonight. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan suddenly thought of something and took out a small jar from the amber button-shaped Fey storage box. Then, he took out a white porcelain bowl. He opened the jar and poured a fragrant amber liquid into a small bowl before handing it to Lu Jie. This is the nectar made from the suzerain silver stamen gold luster cassia flower. It can cleanse the soul of impurities and has a powerful protective effect on the soul. Big brother Lu, you will indeed have to suffer a little. The suzerain silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar will probably be more painful than the insect-type carcinoma Fey's attack. However, this suffering will not be for nothing. Big brother Lu will definitely reap double the rewards. As Lin Yuan spoke, he could not help but recall the time when he drank the suzerain silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar. The intense pain in his soul was still fresh in his memory. Even if Lin Yuan was beaten to death, he would not want to endure it a second time. However, Lu Jie wanted to use his soul to gamble on his transformation. Under such circumstances, the suzerain silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar would definitely be the best helper. Lu Jie took the white porcelain bowl that Lin Yuan handed over and nodded solemnly at him. Then, he turned and left the return from faraway mansion. During the civil and martial duels, Lu Jie had been very surprised. He did not expect Lin Yuan to improve so quickly and be so strong. On one hand, Lu Jie was happy for Lin Yuan, but on the other hand, he suppressed the self-satisfaction that had just risen in his heart. Lu Jie knew that he was still far from being able to walk side by side with Lin Yuan. However, if the insect queen could successfully control the insect-type carcinoma Fey tonight, Lu Jie was confident that he would be able to fight evenly with Zhong Zhe, whose sacred source life form had transformed into a growth stage, even without using his sacred source life form. After Lu Jie left, Lin Yuan quickly walked back to the mansion. After thinking for a moment, he prepared to summon Chimey, which had eaten the divine Bodhi fruit, out of the spirit lock spatial zone. Chimey had transformed into a human form for the live broadcast. It could not possibly still sit on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's branch. It was not that the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's branch could not withstand Chimey's human form. Lin Yuan did not want to display a heaven and earth fey like the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree on Star Web. It did not matter who he was, how powerful he was, or whether he could protect the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. However, Lin Yuan still understood the principle of not letting one's wealth leak. The first was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 935. Moreover, this phoenix-perching Chinese parasol tree was something that Lin Yuan had snatched from the tower cannon. Lin Yuan immediately waved his hand and summoned Chimey and Genius from the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Just as Lin Yuan summoned Chimey and Genius, he saw a beautiful figure carrying a white cat pouncing into his embrace. Lin Yuan, Chimey has finally transformed into a human form. Do you think Chimey looks good in its human form? At first, Lin Yuan was startled by the woman who suddenly pounced into his embrace. Just as he was about to reach out and push the woman away, he realized that the woman was Chimey. Lin Yuan then withdrew his hand that was about to reach out. Lin Yuan was currently being tightly hugged by Chimey, and he could only see a few wisps of indistinct blue in Chimey's long black hair. Suddenly, Lin Yuan felt that Chimey's long hair was like a smear of blue night in the horizon, and the night sky was still filled with dazzling stars. The hair swayed gently, soft, elegant, and abnormally graceful. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Genius's patient voice coming from between him and Chimey. Chimey, it's fine that you have been rubbing Genius after transforming. Are you trying to choke Genius to death now? After hearing Genius' low and muffled voice, Chimey recalled that it had hugged and touched Genius to its fullest when it had just transformed into a human form. Genius was now squeezed between it and Lin Yuan. Chimey hurriedly let go of Lin Yuan and stuck out its tongue, not forgetting to rub Genius. Genius, you are too comfortable to hug. It is so comfortable that Chimey has forgotten to hug you. But don't worry, Genius. Chimey will not do this next time. Genius reminded Chimey with a childish voice. Chimey, you will have to wait for a long time if you want to rub Genius again. But there is only one divine Bodhi fruit. At that moment, Lin Yuan finally saw Chimey's appearance clearly. After seeing Chimey's appearance, Lin Yuan's expression was slightly sluggish. He actually couldn't bear to blink for a long time. Lin Yuan felt that he wasn't someone who cared about appearances, but he couldn't bear to shift his gaze away from Chimey. This wasn't the first time Lin Yuan saw a fae transforming into a human form. The mother of Bloodbath was cold and elegant, Endless Summer was luxurious, and the purple demon was demonic. It could be said that the three female fays in the Return from Faraway Manor each had their own characteristics. Any one of them would be a one-in-a-million beauty. However, compared to Chimey, Lin Yuan felt that the mother of Bloodbath, Endless Summer, and Purple Demon were still lacking something. Finally, after careful observation, Lin Yuan found out what the reason was. Chimey's facial features were simply too exquisite. If the facial features of a normal person were to be drawn into a portrait, it would require hundreds of meticulous carvings of lines. In that case, the number of lines needed to draw a portrait of Chimey's facial features would be doubled. At the same time, Chimey's exquisite big eyes were very lively, as though they contained a pool of limpid autumn water. Qiushui's clear eyes were still flashing with a mischievous and clear expression. Her long eyelashes were like an affectionate little fan, fluttering like a young girl curiously pouncing on a firefly in the blink of an eye. At the same time, her eyes, which were filled with clear ripples, hid some of the mysteriousness of the so-called lover, from the water side. Lin Yuan could imagine how vivid Chimey would be when it sang and its eyes were covered with emotions. After Chimey transformed into its human form, feathers automatically formed spirit chi clothing on its body. It was like an azure blue dress embroidered with cloud patterns, stars, and suns. The shoulders were covered with thin silk, and the thin silk connected to the waist to form a skirt that was suffused with a light gold color. It had an indescribable immortal aura. The gold that seemed illusory against the sun's patterns was like the glazed flame that Chimey had used its radiant body to absorb sunlight energy and ignite. Hibiscus sunrise, hidden stars cloud pattern. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh at Chimey's appearance and figure. Perfect. Lin Yuan was already starting to worry about Chimey's fans and talent fans. Lin Yuan was really afraid that these voice fans and talent fans would accidentally become face fans after seeing Chimi's appearance. In fact, it was not just Lin Yuan. Even the people who were still in the mansion were stunned by Chimi's appearance. Hu Quan, who usually read his book, looked at Chimi and could not help but mutter. Female lead. A proper female lead. The conversation between Chimi and Lin Yuan had already revealed its identity. Apart from Lin Yuan, Chu Xi, who was the most familiar with Chimi, walked forward. After carefully looking at Chimi's face a few times, Chu Xi said in admiration, "Chimi, you're so good-looking." Upon hearing that, Chimi's big eyes immediately curved slightly. Its small fan-like eyelashes covered half of its eyes, and the curve of its eyes expressed the joy in its heart. The moment Chimi's eyes curved up, everyone could not help but be influenced by it, and the corners of their mouths curled up. The instant Chimi's eyes curled up, everyone couldn't help but be influenced by Chimi, and the corners of their mouths curled up in delight. It could be said that Chimi's expression could already affect people's hearts unknowingly. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan suddenly thought in his heart. As the most beautiful Fae, Purple Firmament enhanced the butterfly species Fae's bloodline on the basis of the Purple Cloud Divine Butterfly and evolved into the Purple Cloud Divine Butterfly. Lin Yuan doesn't dare to imagine how good-looking Purple Firmament would be in human form. Chu Xi, who was looking at Chimi, asked Lin Yuan curiously. Lin Yuan, how can Chimi transform into human form? Could it be that Chimi has reached myth 2? Lin Yuan looked at Chu Xi's puzzled expression and said, "That's right. Chimi ate the divine Bodhi fruit, which can allow Faes to transform into human form for a period of time. However, once the time limit is up, the effects of the divine form Bodhi fruit will lose its effect, and Chimi will return to normal." After speaking to Chu Xi, Lin Yuan turned to look at the smug Chimi. "Enin, choose any scene in the manner and log into Star Web. If you continue to show off for a little longer, your transformation time is almost up." Upon hearing that, Chimi quickly replied. "Lin Yuan, in your room. Enin is most at ease there. But Yuan, do you think Chimi needs a change of clothes?" Hearing that Chimi wanted to change, Endless Summer's eyes lit up. "Enin, Big Sister Xia will help you style it. Sister Xia is very fast in styling. I guarantee you'll be satisfied in 20 minutes. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan couldn't help but break out in a waterfall of sweat. "Enin, your current appearance is already very beautiful." Lin Yuan was really afraid that Endless Summer would make Chimi into a little hipster. She wore a light yellow dress, fluffy hair, and colorful makeup. Even if Chimi had good looks, its taste would probably be famous for being bad on Star Web. Upon hearing Lin Yuan say that it was the most beautiful, Chimi said to Endless Summer, "Big Sister Xia, Lin Yuan said that I'm beautiful now." "Big Sister Xia, Lin Yuan said that I am beautiful now, so I don't need to do any styling." Second update. There should be another update in a while. Sorry, I've been on a business trip and have been busy all day. Now, I'm holding my laptop and staying up all night writing in the hotel. Strive not to owe more updates. It's a new month. Please support me with monthly votes. Love you guys. End of this chapter. Chapter 936. Endless Summer felt a little regretful. It could have been prettier, okay? Moreover, Endless Summer felt that with Chimi's exquisite facial features, it would definitely look better after shaving its head. Chimi carried Genius to Lin Yuan's bedroom and prepared to log into Star Web. But before logging into the new web, Chimi felt its heart beating extremely fast. Chimi, which had been blocking the GIFs during the Star Web live streaming, was now preparing to show its face for the first time. Furthermore, it was in its human form, so it was impossible not to be nervous. But in the end, Chimi bravely logged in. Lin Yuan saw that Chimey had returned to its room to live stream, so he didn't disturb it. Instead, he went to the guest room and logged into Star Web with his original identity. Inside the Radiance Federation Star Web building, a woman was lying on the table while holding a cup of water. The woman's palm was tightly gripping the cup, causing it to let out a faint creak sound. It was obvious how much strength this woman was using. The woman had an angry and anxious expression. At that moment, a short-haired middle-aged woman walked to the woman lying on the table and said, "Ningning, the chief editor wants to see you." The short-haired middle-aged woman saw Tian Ningning's expression and couldn't help but sigh. As she spoke, the short-haired middle-aged woman saw the expression on Tian Ningning's face and couldn't help but sigh. The short-haired middle-aged woman looked at Tian Ningning with eyes full of sympathy. When the short-haired middle-aged woman found out that Tian Ningning had quietly become Black's exclusive reporter, she felt that Tian Ningning was a little silly. Before Tian Ningning went to fight for Black, a Radiance 100 sequence member who had just retired had changed his exclusive reporter. Before Tian Ningning went to fight for Black, a Radiance 100 sequence member who had just retired had changed his exclusive reporter. Furthermore, this former Radiance 100 sequence member, who had changed his exclusive reporter, had specially found Tian Ningning and wanted to invite her to be his exclusive reporter. However, Tian Ningning had rejected him. At that time, the short-haired middle-aged woman couldn't understand Tian Ningning's operation. She didn't expect that the heroic youth in Millstone Town, Black, was actually a stock with great potential. After Tian Ningning had become Black's exclusive reporter, everything Black did would cause a sensation on Star Web. This caused Tian Ningning to gradually become famous among the many Star Web reporters. Back then, she had attended the press conference with Long Tao, Fang Duo, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and the other 4 Radiance 100 sequence members' exclusive reporters. This had pushed Tian Ningning to the peak of the pursuit of Star Web's exclusive reporters. This allowed Tian Ningning to have the same status as the Radiance 100 sequence's exclusive reporter. Based on the strength that Black had displayed on the Celestial Stairway, it was basically a done deal for him to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection this year and become a Radiance 100 sequence member. But now, it seemed that Tian Ningning's job as Black's exclusive reporter wasn't easy. Ever since Tian Ningning became Black's exclusive reporter, she had never done an interview with Black, which made the chief editor very dissatisfied with her. He did not know what bad things Black had done for so many veteran factions and top factions disciples, who usually kept a low profile, to be able to escape. Black had always been compared to the All-Star competition's genius youth, Lin Yuan, on Star Web. This wasn't a big deal. After all, there were posts on the Star Web that compared the ordinary green shell crab with the myth breed rain stone cherry crab. After a strange analysis, it made people feel that the green shell crab, which wasn't even considered a fey, seemed to be more outstanding than the myth breed rain stone cherry crab. There had always been a lot of idiots on Star Web, and everyone had the right to post whatever they wanted on Star Web. No one would restrict them. However, the debate between Lin Yuan and Black had suddenly changed this morning. At first, only a few young direct descendants of the veteran factions and top factions publicly said that Black couldn't even compare to half of Lin Yuan's finger. As soon as this matter appeared, it immediately became a trending topic on Star Web. Any one of these direct descendants of the veteran factions and top factions upheld the glory and majesty of the veteran factions and top factions. These top factions and veteran factions disciples always had their own fixed small circles on Star Web and were usually very low-key. Occasionally, some hot-tempered young masters or young ladies from the veteran factions and top factions would publicly diss someone on Star Web. Once such a thing happened, regardless of whether the matter was finally settled, it would be treated as a big melon by many netizens on Star Web. However, it was very rare for several young masters and young ladies from the veteran factions to collectively diss a single person. It could even be said that there hadn't been a similar incident on Star Web in the past 5 years. When this storm had just started, many netizens had seriously compared Black's strength on the celestial stairway with Meng Su's strength, which had been KO'd by Lin Yuan. They had analyzed the gap between Black and Lin Yuan. Unexpectedly, this matter that had just become a trending topic on Star Web had rapidly spread. Dozens of young people from the veteran factions and top factions publicly dissed Black on Star Web. They had joined the battle on Lin Yuan's side. This caused all the netizens on Star Web to fall into a state of confusion. They couldn't understand what was going on. How did Black manage to provoke so many immortals who were usually elusive and elusive? Could it be that these immortal figures were publicly dissing Black because Lin Yuan was stronger than Black? This left everyone at a loss for a moment. As Black's exclusive reporter, Tian Ningning had to pay close attention and contact Black immediately after this happened. She had to find out what had happened and then think of a way to deal with this matter. However, after working hard for a day, Tian Ningning realized that she couldn't contact Black no matter what. In fact, Tian Ningning had not been able to contact Black for a day or two. Tian Ningning checked her previous chat record with Black and realized that it had been half a month ago. At that time, Black had fought in 2 celestial stairway duels, and she had written down the battle record and sent it to Black. Black had only replied with 2 words. "Thank you for your hard work." When she had seen Black's reply, Tian Ningning had felt very warm in her heart. Now that such a huge incident had occurred, Tian Ningning, as Black's exclusive reporter, couldn't contact the person she was responsible for. No matter how outstanding Tian Ningning's business ability was, she didn't know what kind of crisis public relations was suitable for her. After all, she didn't know the cause of this storm. Tian Ningning couldn't contact Lin Yuan now. She was a little anxious and had some complaints. However, she had been Black's exclusive reporter for nearly half a year and had a certain understanding of Black. Yesterday's 3rd update. Seeking monthly votes. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.